Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver on YouTube. We're kind of new on the visual side, so we've been trying to pay more attention to the fact that these are also YouTube videos as well as our podcast. So we've been doing a podcast now for a number of years, and we started doing it on YouTube I don't know, years back. I don't even remember how long it was. But yeah, we've just added a visual element, so we decided when we jump in live, rather than just kind of waiting to go live for our normal show, we'd also have an intro for people that might be watching on YouTube. So thank you for joining us on YouTube. Hello, Mark, in the chat. Good to see you. I believe we are both well. I guess I can't just. Yes, Peter's fine. I was gonna, do the normal polite. I can't speak for Peter, but
You could just ask. I'm right here.
Yeah, but what's the use in that?
You could find out the actual answer. I don't know.
Oh man. Yeah, so we're here. We're going to be doing Roundtable 108. So I think we'll save the rest of the intro stuff for the actual when we start the podcast. But yeah, this is basically kind of a dual thing. We're doing it on YouTube here, but this is primarily a podcast first and foremost. So yeah, subscribe to the channel and stuff, and some new things might be popping up pretty soon that are extra on top of what is normally the podcast. But yes, hello Mike and Robert in the chat. Good to have you guys with us. But yeah, let's go ahead and hit the intro and then get started with the podcast as well.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And I guess I need to rope it into that intro at some point, that we're also covering the entire King universe as well.
Yeah.
Through the paradigm of the Dark Tower, of course.
That is Dark Tower.
Is the whole
is different levels of the tower are different parts of King's universe.
But for the first number of years, we only did just Dark Tower,
Yeah.
and we've definitely expanded. But yeah, I keep remembering, like, later on that I'm like, you know what, our intro has just pretty much been the same since the beginning. But yes, first of all, want to thank Alan for the amazing intro. Still
Yes.
makes me smile. Still love it. Very epic. But yeah, we're here for Roundtable number 108, as you can see on your screen if you're with us here on YouTube. And first of all, we want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so therefore spoilers tend to happen. We don't really plan for it, but it does happen. So if you haven't finished all of the books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to cry off this episode and stick to our book club episodes. In those ones, we stay where we're at or before and don't spoil anything. So if you're kind of going through, like, if you were at the end of book 3, we're kind of toward the, I don't know, maybe first third.
Yeah.
Something of book 3, so you'd be safe to listen to those episodes, all of those episodes, because we wouldn't just like randomly jump in and say something from book 4, 6, or 7 and spoil something. So those are safe episodes if you haven't finished. If you have finished, this is your warning. If you get spoiled from here on out, it is your fault. We're also going to talk about, as I mentioned, a lot of King universe stuff. So there may be some light spoilers for other King properties. I don't know off the top of my head if there's any that really jump out. I do know that we're going to touch on a number of novels. We have a challenge that we threw out. They'll be covering the top 5 King novels for us. So I don't know how far we'll get into plot on any of those, but there might be some light spoilers. Then if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You could stream us on Spotify or Stitcher, or you can find us on any standard podcasting service out there. We should be available on just about everyone. Go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those platforms. We definitely appreciate that as it helps the show get exposure. Next, you can find our show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. There you can find both our show notes for everything that we're going to cover in this episode. For instance, I may take excerpts from articles, but if you want to read the full articles or just review, whatever, maybe you like something you heard and you wanted to go read it again, find that at the show notes, darktowerpalaver.com. We also have our welcome questions for new listeners. If you are a new listener, we welcome you to being part of our extended quartet. And what's the first thing that happens when somebody joins the quartet? Usually is they tell their story.
Questions.
Yeah. And so we want you to tell your story, and those questions that we have over there for new listeners, there's a little tab for it on the right-hand side. Those are just questions that we've found over the years are good ways to introduce yourself as a Dark Tower reader and as a Stephen King fan. You can answer as many or as little of those as you want. If you want to just grab one of the questions and send an email and do whatever you want, but answer one of the questions, none of the questions, or all of the questions, it's up to you. But those are a good little thing there. Also, there's something that we'll cover in this episode. Toward the end, somebody actually brings it up, and we'll cover it. But there's a new little tab over there for open challenges. We've been kind of throwing challenges out for a while, and we'll get to it. But there's a new thing there that for open challenges, there's a little pinned thing that will show what you can look at for upcoming shows if you want to be part of the conversation. Then last up for me, we also have a Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can do that over at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver and join us on Patreon. There's a number of levels and different benefits. It's a lot of fun. We have our Discord server. We have Hangouts, which we'll be doing a Hangout next episode, as a matter of fact. So those are always fun, and you can find us over there at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then if you want to get in touch with us, as I said, you're a member of our extended quartet, Peter can let you know the number of ways to do that.
Best way to reach us is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We, like Ted mentioned, we stream our shows here on YouTube. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Make sure to like the videos, subscribe, because like Ted also hinted, there's more stuff coming than just the podcast videos soon. So ring the bell to get notifications for when we're going to post videos and when we go live as well. Then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then on our website at Dark Tower Palaver, there is the option on the links. There's a little box that's open that takes you to our store for the merchandise that we have on TeePublic.
Yeah.
So that's
can get you a Dark Tower shirt like I'm wearing, or a Slanderous shirt like Peter's wearing there.
yeah. But also, if you just want to go to TeePublic, it's teepublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver, the name of the show, so you can look it up there. But if you want to go through our website, like I said, in the links, there's a box right below the YouTube play button. There's a box that's open. You just click on that, it takes you right there to shop it. Great thing about TeePublic is it's not just shirts. You can get any number of things, stickers.
Yeah, I still got to get a pillow.
You're still going to get a pillow. Yep.
I need to do that still. I keep forgetting. But yes, I do need to get a pillow. And then the other thing I want to touch on is calendar-wise, this summer, as if you've been a long-time listener, you may be aware that things tend to shift a little bit in the summer because it's summer, right? People go on vacations or holiday, as it's called, overseas, which I love that.
Stop it.
I love that.
Stop it. What is with this, like, trying to be like English with, like, the English talk? The fortnight and the holiday.
I love it. I love the spirit of it. But yeah, we wanted to let you know. So we were on this episode, we're 108, where we're going to cover the top 5 King novels. And then in a fortnight from now, on the 31st, which this will be the first time in a long time that we've had 3 episodes in a single month. Because the way the months fall, we just go every other week. So you'll find us here in a fortnight for 109. Which, if you want to get your emails in for that one, that's the one that just got brought up recently, where we're going to do top 10 King kids. So that one is going to be anyone that's 15 or younger in a King novel.
Yep, before high school.
Yeah, we figure high school is kind of different. Like, yes, they're underage, but they're not like kids, quote unquote. So we're going to do top 10 kids. If you want to send your emails, tweets, whatever at us with those lists, you can do that, because like this episode in our Palaver section, we'll cover the top 5 books. That one will cover top 10 kids. And then it'll actually be, I'm trying to think how far that is now. So the 31st, and then we're not going to have one on our normal, 2 weeks after that would have been the 14th, but it'll actually be a week after that, so it'll be 3 weeks. Then we'll be for Roundtable 110, and we have a little bit of a surprise for that one. But there's a little thing that's going on the 14th that I can't avoid, so we will be moving that episode around as well. So yeah, 3 roundtables in a row, and then we'll be back to book clubs at the end of August. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the calendar and what to expect coming up. So
also, before our next roundtable on the 31st, the Friday before the 30th, we are going to be doing our hangout for Patreon.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's the upcoming calendar, and as of now, things look normal. Once we hit that book club at the end of August, everything should be normal the rest of the year. Maybe. I mean, it's looking like it. Usually we do.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But we definitely see more changes in the summer. It is a little bit more normal. Usually outside of the summer, we tend to be a little bit more consistent. Yeah, like I said, with vacations and everything else that's going on, summer just tends to be a little bit more helter-skelter.
We actually look at the calendar every year at the beginning of the year, because we usually take just a little bit of a winter break right around Christmas/New Year's. Right around there is like when schools are out here in the U.S. And when we look at the calendar, it usually lines up when you go bi-weekly that it'll miss the Christmas weekend, and then it'll also miss like New Year's weekend. But it'll also miss like Thanksgiving weekend. It lines up usually.
It lines up pretty well usually.
It usually lines up pretty perfectly, and I think we got that again. I'm glancing at the calendar I have saved into my phone. So November 20th, Thanksgiving the following week, back recording on December 4th, back recording on December 18th, off on Christmas, but then it says that we're going to record on New Year's Day. So
yeah, I don't know if we've really looked at.
We'll have to look at that. But
we haven't looked at 2022 yet. So
yeah, aside from that, that's the holiday season. That's why we do that when we plan the shows at the beginning of the year. So we'll have to look at, like Tad said, like 2022, but. I don't plan anything else. I don't think I really have anything else in September or October. So
yeah, not that I know of.
Yeah, nothing yet. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah, indeed. So let's go ahead and jump into the news. We'll do that, and then we'll get into the challenge in our Palaver section at the end. So let's go ahead and change up the thing here, and. Sorry, it's a little bit more. We got to change the size of our little images here, as well as yes. So we should be good there. It's a little bit different now as we're transitioning with the cameras. So this was actually a fun little one that we actually I was gonna cover last time, but we ended up skipping because of the length of the episode that we had last time. But it's a fun little one. The surprising Stephen King movie that inspired Disney and Pixar's Luca. And this is by Alex Welch from Looper on June 7th, 2021. And my first thought was The Shining, because the Pixar folks are pretty Shining obsessed. There's a lot of Shining references in like Toy Story. There's just different things in general. Like I think Sid's house has the overlook carpet. Things like that. And actually, what's funny is I was looking. I'm pretty plugged into a lot of different things on Twitter, and one of the things is like horror. And there's one guy that I've come to know is basically he's considered like the ultimate authority for The Shining. Like, for instance, someone posted a picture of the dog suit guy, very very obscure thing, but he is actually not listed in the cast, and he's pretty mysterious in terms of who the actor was and that kind of stuff, and somebody tweeted about it, and this guy chimed in. He's like, actually, I know who he is. I figured that out years ago, and then he gives the guy's name and stuff. So this guy's just like whatever. So I've always known him as that. And then one day I was like looking at, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna click on this guy's profile. He's like amazing. He's always answering questions on The Shining. And then lo and behold, he's actually also the guy that directed Toy Story 3. He's actually like a filmmaker. But it's like, for me, I've always known him as like basically
the Shining expert,
the ultimate Shining, like Kubrick Shining, the ultimate expert on it. But yeah, it turns out no, he's actually a pretty plugged in guy at Pixar, and I think he's done a couple other movies, but Toy Story 3 was the big one. So that was my suspicion when I saw this headline, but I was actually surprised it's not that, and it isn't the same guy either. This is a different director, but I was expecting that. Are you familiar with Luca at all?
Yeah, new movie. I know the premise of it. My wife and daughter actually watched it last time we were recording.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but they said it was good, so I know the premise of it.
Yeah. So we'll start off here. It says, directed by Enrico Casarosa, Luca takes place on the Italian Riviera and follows the adventures of two boys. Luca, voiced by Jacob Tremblay, which is the poor baseball boy from Dr. Sleep.
Yep.
The very unfortunate baseball boy. I mean, he's on a lot of things, but that's certainly the most Kingian of his roles.
Except for this one, apparently.
And Alberto, voiced by Jack Dylan Grazer, as they spend their summer exploring the film's central seaside town and eating plenty of gelato. As they embark on the summer of adventures, Luca and Alberto must make sure that the town's residents do not discover one thing, that they are both secretly sea monsters capable of disguising themselves as normal humans on dry land. Very crazy. This is the film, which is set to be released later this month, exclusively on Disney Plus, shaping up to be one of the more interesting releases from a major studio this summer. It feels considerably smaller in scope than most Disney Pixar titles. Despite its various supernatural and fantastical elements, its unique tone, aesthetic, and vintage Italian countryside settings have resulted in comparisons to 2017's Call Me By Your Name in recent months. During a recent press interview for Luca that Looper attended, the film's creative team was revealed that one of the biggest inspirations for the new CG animated film was the 1986 classic Stand By Me. That film, directed by Rob Reiner and based on Stephen King's novella The Body, follows four friends in 1959 as they go on a hike in search for a body of a missing boy. It's one of the most beloved coming-of-age films of all time and is generally considered to be one of the best Stephen King film adaptations ever made. I don't know that either of us disagree with either of those things.
Nope.
According to the filmmakers behind Luca, its specific focus was on the friendship of Stand By Me that helped shape the upcoming Pixar film. In fact, even though it has been repeatedly compared to Call Me By Your Name online, Luca isn't actually concerned with romance or young love. Instead, the primary focus of Luca is on a kind of powerful early friendship that often go to play a formative role in people's lives, and the film follows its characters during a time when they aren't yet concerned by the issues of romance. And that is why this is a quote, that is why Stand By Me, I'm sorry, this isn't a quote, which is more focused on depicting lasting bonds of friendship formed between characters than anything else, served as such an important reference point for Luca. So, yeah, just kind of a fun little one. Like I said, I don't know why, just Pixar, Shining probably, but then it was Stand By Me. So that's an interesting little reference to Kingian works, as well as movies. Obviously, I think that's one of the ones that has certainly overshadowed King's version. You know, like there is The Body, but like Stand By Me, it's like it says, one of the greatest movies of all time. Certainly probably the greatest coming of age film. But yeah, it's
there's a couple like that for King, especially when you look at like the ones that come to mind are the ones that are based off of short stories that turned into really, really good movies.
Yeah.
The Body.
Yeah.
Getting overshadowed by Stand By Me.
Shawshank Redemption
is the next one I was going to say. Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption is obviously always criminally overshadowed by that movie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the other one that comes to mind as well is like, man, Green Mile.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a novel. It doesn't fit exactly what I'm saying, but holy crap. Like, a lot of times that novel is just cast aside, and the movie, because of Michael Clark Duncan's performance and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the cast from top to bottom in that movie is just stellar.
Yeah.
That
one guy, though. That one guy.
The guard?
I forget his name, but he's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe Mrs. Carmody level of hatred there.
No.
Oh, dude.
No.
Watch that movie again.
I've seen Green Mile. I know all the crap he did. Nothing will ever rival Mrs. Carmody for me in a movie. The only one that's ever come close is there is one character in Harry Potter, but the novel is worse than the movie.
Okay, and so all I said is approaching Mrs. Carmody. I'm not serious.
Percy, Percy. That's right.
Is that little blonde kid
in
Harry Potter?
No. Percy is the guard in Green Mile.
Oh, okay. What's the Harry Potter? Is it that blonde actor that plays the one you hate in Harry Potter? Okay.
No.
because he was in like the CW, I think Flash, the actor, and I ended up looking him up and realizing he's played some character in Harry Potter.
He's in Planet of the Apes,
and he's got a very punchable face, and
yes.
I just picture that he's probably a very deplorable character in most things. So
Tom Felton.
Is that the actor's name or the character's name?
Draco Malfoy is the character's name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just when I saw him on Flash, I was like, he seemed familiar, but I haven't seen Harry Potter. So I looked him up, and I was like, oh, he's in Harry Potter. And then like, so every time I hear like hated in Harry Potter, I just assume it's him because, like I said, just watching him, and I think it was Flash.
He's bad. He's like Harry Potter's rival. Like if you got the positive, he's the negative.
Yeah.
Opposite of Harry Potter there. No, there's a character in the 5th book that absolutely Carmody level.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Carmody. Like,
as long as it's not Gary Oldman.
No. Gary Oldman's character is dope.
I mean,
how could you go wrong with an escaped convict, for Christ's sake?
I mean, I think Gary Oldman's just so beloved that no matter what he plays, he's lovable.
Yeah.
Even Stansfield.
Watch the Harry Potter movies one of these days, dude. Seriously.
I do own them.
Yeah, I know. That's what's sad, is you own all 8 movies and haven't watched a single one.
So this next one is actually strange in that it's dated June 13th, but it seems like it's kind of tied into, and it'll say in the article about April Fools. So I don't know why it's being reported in June, but I found it funny. And it's will Stephen King have a bridge with his name in Maine? And it's funny because not that long ago, I read a thing online where it's basically like a rule of thumb is if a headline has a question mark, the answer is no. Just as a rule, like,
oh, really?
Whenever, just so going forward now, if you ever see a headline that has a question mark in it, just assume the answer is no, and you'll be right more than you're wrong.
Okay.
So I was just like, this is one of the first times after reading about that I had a chance to play it out, and it turned out to be true here. But this doesn't reference an author. It says Market Research Telecast is the publication, June 13th, 2021, but no person is credited for the writing. It says the Transportation Department of Maine surprised locals and strangers this morning with the announcement that it would be renamed to Puente Penobscot in honor of one of its more famous residents, Stephen King. And it is taking advantage of the day of the Innocent Saints, or April Fool's Day, as is known in the United States. The authorities of Maine, they teased many media and followers of the prolific author who initially took the news as true. And I mean, I'm honestly, why don't they have a bridge named after Stephen King in Maine anyway? Like they should.
There should be like a bridge. There should be Stephen King Elementary, Stephen King.
Yeah, he should be on their license plate. I mean,
what else do they have?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Stephen King is basically Maine at this point.
So real fast, just a little tangent off of this. My wife had this thing come across her social media the other day where it's like, it's really fun to plan out vacations to each state. Like, if you were to go on a vacation to Texas, where would you want to go? I have 2 in my head for you.
I mean, Dealey Plaza.
That's one.
Is definitely
2 is the Waco for the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Yeah, I mean that would probably be.
That's. I mean, those are a ways apart, but
yeah.
Dealey Plaza would be number 1 for you.
Yeah.
So me and her started doing like this list for different states. What we would do: Florida, Disney World, New York. We'd want to see the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building. Just do the New York tourism thing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Maine. What in Maine do you want to see that's Stephen King? And I'm like, what the hell? I don't know. There's nothing actually real there. Like, all of it's fiction. I mean, maybe like the Bangor airport that's in like a bunch of his stuff.
Yeah.
But not really like anything really.
Yeah.
But if there was a Stephen King bridge, that would be it.
Although, at the same time, wasn't somebody telling us recently that one of the real towns in Maine is basically Derry, in terms of Derry's basically a complete facsimile of that town? Like,
really?
If you actually, like, I don't know how much it stood up to time in terms of, new developments and stuff, but that things like rivers that are listed in it and just all different things, like, basically line up pretty well with one of the towns in Maine. So
no, I don't remember that.
Plus Stephen King's house, right? I mean, you got to go there. That'd be up there. It says, however,
I just don't think that I could stalk him like that. Like, that's.
I mean, you're not going up to knock on the door. It's just drive by, take a picture of the house.
If I drive by and take a picture of it, that's considered stalking. So
No,
that's right there.
No, it's just he knows his house is a landmark. As long as you're not bothering him, he's probably fine.
Yeah.
However, it is enough to review the ad in detail to realize it is an April Fool's joke, especially when noticing that menacing gargoyles would allegedly be placed on the site. So
Okay, that's fitting.
uh,
I don't see a problem with this yet.
initiates and followers of the writer surely noticed that these bat gargoyles are actually a reference to the ones found on the gate of the iconic mansion of Stephen King, located in Bangor. So, see, go see some gargoyle and bats on his gate.
Okay.
And it says the legendary writer has had a string of successful film adaptations of his books and have established him as one of the most famous authors in popular culture. Books such as It, The Shawshank Redemption, and The Shining, or I guess movies is what they're referencing there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, just a fun little thing. I don't know why they're reporting it in June when it was an April Fool's joke that apparently the state of Maine played. Or I don't know if it's the state or whatever department of transportation they've got in Maine. I don't know what that's called there. But apparently they had an April Fool's joke that they were going to be renaming one of their bridges after Stephen King.
And they're just barely realizing it now in June. But
it didn't come by it didn't come by my filters back in April, so I missed it until now. So I figured it was worth talking
Market
about.
Research Telecast published this on June 13th.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So I don't know. Whatever.
Carry on.
Yeah, it's just still fun. And I'm saying for Maine, just do it. It would be worth it. It would be worth it to have some Stephen King.
Well, why wouldn't you? Isn't there stuff in Baltimore named after Edgar Allan Poe?
Probably. I mean, I think they should.
I bet you money I could find an Edgar Allan Poe high school.
You know what I bet? You know what they should do is just get a Statue of Liberty sized statue of Stephen King, holding a book with this face on him that's on the screen now. You know, just have a giant 300 some odd foot statue with Stephen King holding a book with that face on his.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be wonderful.
There's Edgar Allan Poe Alternative Middle School, Poe Middle School, Poe Middle School.
I mean, their NFL team's named because of Edgar Allan Poe, right?
The Raven, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, now this next one is fun, and because of the nature of it, I am going to reveal the photo not right away. Let's just pull this up here. The headline is Definitely Haunted. Man's Disturbing Discovery in a 200-Year-Old Farmhouse. And this is from Josh Dutton from Yahoo News on June 14th, 2021.
Okay.
So I guess there's no way to get into this. So this guy has a 200-year-old farmhouse, and he opened it up, and in a certain cavity or whatever of it hidden, he found this guy. Once it comes up on the screen there, I know you're on a little bit of a delay.
All right. That's creepy as hell. What the hell? Is that a doll?
Yes. I love it. I absolutely I want this thing. This is the kind of thing that would be a fun thing to have as a as a conversation piece, as it were.
Okay, hold on a sec. Hold on. I picked up my laptop so I could get a better look at this fucker. Hang on. We're all kinds of distorted over here now.
So it says a man
Wait.
has compared a doll found in a 200-year-old farmhouse to something from a Stephen King novel, which there you go is why it came across my I always want to say my news desk. Came across my news desk here.
Call it your news desk. It really is. This is the news.
And then it says, quote, found this behind a drawer in a built-in cabinet the day we moved into our 200-year-old farmhouse, he wrote, which he shared to his Facebook. I looked everywhere for his Facebook post, and I couldn't find it, so I'm guessing it wasn't full-on public or he deleted it. Quote, currently sealed in a crate and locked in a shed, is what the guy said. He says, quote, I've read enough Stephen King to know that if we threw it out, it would just come back. Which is true. That's the kind of thing that would just show back up. The man found what appeared to be some kind of doll or marionette. Needless to say, he wasn't alone in being creeped out by the doll. Quote, haunted, definitely haunted, one woman commented. One man suggested encasing the doll in concrete just to be safe, while another woman wrote that she screamed when she saw the photo. Others called it next level creepy. And then another person commented, quote, ooh, I can hear the tap, 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 tapping away in that crate, another woman wrote. So
This is along the lines of some shit that I've seen online on like Reddit and stuff. Like, have you seen people that are like, they're putting up wallpaper and so they write on the wall, help me or get out or so, and then they put up new wallpaper.
Yeah.
The one that I thought was brilliant was the guy was doing like redoing the concrete in his basement.
Yeah.
And he put a freaking plastic skeleton down in it. I'm like, oh damn, dude, like that's fucking dark, because he was putting hardwood over it. So like, if anyone ever took the hardwood off, and then ever got down into the concrete, they would just see like a hand.
Yeah.
in the concrete or a skull or some shit like that.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Like, oh damn, like that's. I love stuff like this, like finding things like this. You've seen posts like that on Reddit where it's like, so we tore open my daughter's closet because we realized there was some empty space there, and we found a tunnel to a underground railroad tunnel that connects me and like 6 of my neighbors' houses. Shit like that. There's been safes that people have uncovered.
This has got to be one of the best, right?
This is fantastic. I can't. You know what? I'm honestly going to show my wife this one. So
yeah, this I think it'd be glorious. I think that'd be fun to find in a new house you're moving into. That's all I'm saying.
No, you'd be happy if I found it. You don't want to find it.
I mean, if I found it, you would be finding it much later.
Yeah, it's true.
You would just find it, on your...
You'd be like, hey, Peter, I got you a new desk.
No, I would just set it on your doorstep, so one morning you walked out and it would be there.
God.
Waiting for you.
No. See, that right there, that is a justified hashtag. That is terrible. That is a no-no.
I don't know if it's justified. I think it's hilarious.
No, that's justified.
I think the only way it'd be terrible is if I didn't have a camera set up to catch your reaction.
That's true. But there's also the hope that it's my wife that opens the door, not me.
I mean, that would be equally as entertaining. Okay, so next up, this is a fun, I don't know if you want to call it fun, definitely a heartwarming story, and I've never heard it before. Stephen King, this is the headline, used his $400,000 book advance from Carrie to help his dying mom retire. This is by Debajali Bose from Insider on June 15th, 2021. And this sounds like this is from a CBS news interview he did. But there was a couple websites I found that were like basically recapping it. So I just grabbed this one because it seemed to be the most detail. The only thing I will say, though, is there's some dates here that don't jive. So I don't understand. I'm guessing part of it, though, is what King says here. And I'm guessing maybe he just threw out the wrong year. But we'll go ahead and get into it here. It says the horror novelist opened up about how the success of his first published novel impacted his family during his appearance on CBS Sunday Morning. This is a quote from Cy King. It says, the hardcover advance was small, but the paperback advance just bowled us over. It was like $400,000 in 1974. It was a huge amount of money, King told Jane Pauley. And then another quote here says, my brother and I talked a little bit about it, and we went to the Pinewood facility where she worked, the author continued, but she was totally stoned by over-the-counter medication. She was in excruciating pain by that point. So definitely not fun. That's why I don't want to say it. It's a fun article here. King added, quote, my brother and I said, Mom, you're done. There's enough to take care of you now because the book sold for a lot of money. You can go home. And she just put her hands over her face and cried. According to King's website, he found out about the paperback advance from his new editor at Doubleday on Mother's Day, 1973. So there's a chance that this would have happened on Mother's Day as well. And then I guess there, because you see his quote said 1974, but then here it says he found out 1973, Mother's Day. Then the next thing, here's a quote. It says, my mother gave me room to be what I wanted to be. King told Polly about Nellie, which is his mom. She didn't laugh about it, or she didn't laugh about the ambitions to work or to write stories. So definitely cultivated his interest in writing. Nellie died of cancer in late 1973 at the age of 59, according to King's website. So there, I guess, like, at first I missed the whole thing about Doubleday in 1973, and I was just looking at the King's quote from earlier in the story, and he's like, $400,000 in 1974, then it says she dies in 1973. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What? But no, I guess, yeah, he's probably just gave the wrong year out there. But yeah, so it sounds like at least her last number of months were comfortable rather than working. So I don't know. I find those kind of stories fun
That's awesome
to see.
that he was able to do that for
you see with athletes and stuff too, a lot of times after they get their first contract and they pay off their mom's house or they do something for their parent. I don't know if I've ever heard this story from King before, but it's definitely kind of a cool story.
I'm a 49ers fan, San Francisco 49ers, the NFL football team. One of our rookies who just literally signed his deal literally just bought his mom her first house. Like it's one of those stories, single mom raising like 6 kids. Bunch of them ended up getting into college and stuff like that. He's one of them. He gets drafted. Multi-million-dollar contract, obviously coming out of college into the NFL. Bought her a house, paid cash, got it, and everything like that.
Yeah.
I did pull up an inflation calculator just for anyone wondering. From 1973 to 2021, $400,000 translates to $2.4 million.
Yeah, sounds
and
about
some
right.
change. So
yeah, Sounds about
Holy
right.
shit, that's a lot of money.
See, I'm in the middle of a rewatch of Mad Men, which takes place in the 60s. So it's been kind of fun. I guess I have my head in that like space because like in there they're talking about like I make $150 a week or something like that, and it's just like these are like basically like glamourati's. Like, these are like high end guys that have like whatever. And so just to hear them talking money, it's just hilarious. So I've been looking at inflation calculators quite a bit to figure out like whatever.
I was watching. HBO has a new documentary about the Atlanta missing children. That whole what is it, like 30 something kids went missing over the course of a couple of years in the end of the 70s, early 80s, and they were talking about the difference between two different sides of Atlanta and like what the annual income is. And they're like the richer side was $22,000 a year annually, and I'm like, okay, well that fits about right. Looking at like what it is now versus like what it was then. Okay, I can see it. That's like in the poor communities it was $2,500 a year, and I'm like, wait, a year?
Yeah,
a year.
Yeah,
I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like I could not fathom like you're getting paid like what, $1 a day? Like a little bit more than that is it.
Yeah, indeed. So Len, moving on here, we actually have some Pet Sematary news, and it actually enlightens.
Oh yeah, they're doing a prequel, aren't they?
Well, we don't know. We at first like they said sequel, then they were saying maybe prequel, and then it's like there's a lot of confusion. This seems to bring some clarity to it, though. And the actor's name, it says the headline here: Jackson White to play Judd Crandall in new Pet Sematary movie at Paramount Players. I don't know why it says that. It's Paramount Plus. So this is by Justin Kroll from Deadline on June 23rd, 2021. Yes. And as you can tell from the picture here, Jackson White is not a very old person. It says exclusive. Jackson White is in final negotiations to star as Judd Crandall in Paramount. I don't know why I keep saying Players. Paramount Plus's follow-up adaptation to the successful 2019 Pet Sematary, based on Stephen King's bestseller and self-proclaimed scariest book. The film began shooting in August and will debut exclusively on Paramount Plus. So that's actually some news too. I don't know that we've heard that it will be starting to film next month. So that's interesting. Plot details are unknown at this time. The original story, the basis for both the 1989 and 2019 pictures, involve a family hit by tragedy and what happens when a grieving father discovers an ancient burial ground with the power to raise the dead. In the book, Crandall is a character that is introduces the family to the burial ground and later unveils its secrets to the grieving father. Something he soon would regret doing. White would mark the third actor to play the role, with Fred Gwynne famously playing Crandall in 1989 adaptation, while John Lithgow portrayed him in 2019. For White, this marks his first starring role in a major studio movie, with his first big break coming in the HBO limited series Mrs. Fletcher. He next can be seen opposite Jake Gyllenhaal in Michael Bay's action thriller Ambulance. So yeah, kind of an up-and-comer and a guy in his 20s. So definitely not an old guy. So him playing Judd Crandall is an interesting casting, and it probably does tell us that, at least in part, we're probably going to be seeing some of the backstory that we had in Pet Sematary the novel, because neither movie that I recall really goes that deep into all that fun backstory.
His stuff, no.
So, and that's some cool stuff in the book. I really enjoyed that.
Paramount Players is a part of Paramount Pictures, focusing on contemporary properties while working with other Viacom CBS products.
Yeah.
So it's like a underling of them. So that's
interesting.
Well, it's interesting that they're the ones that are doing. So is this gonna, we still don't have any details on it.
No,
it is going to be potentially a younger Jed.
Yeah,
Jed.
Judd.
And interesting doing a no one. Not a no one. An unknown. That's the way we word it. It's an unknown for him. That's cool. Yeah,
definitely interesting. I mean, there's a lot that we're given in the book, backstory wise, from Judd.
And
I don't know if that's enough to carry a whole movie, though. So I think they're going to probably have to pad some stuff out, unless they go far deeper
with his wife.
They could even go far deeper and maybe even go further into the backstory. Maybe he's learned some stuff that he doesn't pass along, potentially. I mean,
if you're going to pass along dark secrets, you still don't potentially tell the worst of it,
Yeah.
You may hold those cards a little closer to your vest, so.
Yeah.
Much
to your Achilles tendons.
No. Those injuries are never fun to see on film. I don't like those.
I love them because everyone always just absolutely loses it when those happen.
And you're like Pennywise. You feed off of people's trauma and fear.
It does make me happy, that's for sure.
See what I mean?
I mean, why do you think I baptized you in the ways of horror, sir? It was fun watching you squirm with all these horrific
And then you
things.
found out about the social awkwardness and beast and everything, and you're just like, excellent.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, that's the reason Scott's Tots is one of my favorite episodes now, just because the effect it has on you.
I hate it.
Okay, so next up, we got some Firestarter news.
Ooh, gimme.
Firestarter, Blumhouse reboot of Stephen King's classic, adds Sidney Lemon. And this is by Anthony Del Alessandro from Deadline on June 28th, 2021. Now, I just want to stop and have a little bit of a tangent here. Is this I guess everyone keeps using the word reboot here, and at first I wanted to kick against that because it's not really a reboot, but at the same time is reboot, because the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking maybe a reboot is would be the right term for this, not because you're rebooting an old television or movie franchise, but
right.
You're basically going back to the novel and rebooting to do a whole new. At first I didn't like the term, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, maybe actually that is the right term when it comes to I would say readaptation or I don't know, I don't even know what I would say, but reboot I kicked against it first, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, it actually might make sense. What do you think?
For me, it's starting. You actually just reminded me of something that came up. It was a couple episodes ago. We were talking about. Oh, maybe it was a little bit longer ago. You were talking about The Shining.
Yeah.
Where you're like, why can't we've had 17 different versions of Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
On film, why can't we have another version of The Shining?
Yeah.
Where's the retelling and everything like that? It was later that day or later that week, I got thinking about it. What is a reboot? And I think that I'm changing my opinion on what a reboot is, because I think Firestarter is a perfect example for how what came to my head is that they're going to go back and they're going to take the novel and they're going to modernize it.
Yeah.
Because that's the big thing with it is that, I mean, Firestarter takes place in the 80s?
Yeah, 80s.
Or 70s.
I may be reading it right now, as a matter of fact.
Are you really?
I've been saving the reveal of that as well.
I'm so excited.
I think I've got 3 hours left, so I'm pretty.
Dude, that's awesome.
Andy, I believe, is on an airplane right now, going to or from a funeral for one of the shop folks. He used the push to get himself to a funeral, and now he's pushing someone else to, I'm guessing, set up some sort of escape that he has planned here. So, yes,
Gotcha.
I'm loving the book though. I
It's
really
good,
am.
dude.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm really enjoying it a lot. So this is the perfect time to bring it up too, because this is about Firestarter.
Yeah, for me, rebooting is I think it's we talked about this when we were going over the Dark Tower film.
Yeah.
How are they going to do it? Are they going to have Susanna be from the 60s? Are they going to have Jake from the 70s and Eddie from
before
the 80s?
we knew anything.
Yeah, before we obviously knew anything, we were like, well, how are they going to do it? I got an eyebrow that is hanging down, and it's driving me nuts. I'm sorry that I'm like, okay, I think I got it. But I think, to me, that's where I think I'm going to start looking at reboot, when they're like, well, yeah, we're going to reboot and we're going to retell the story, basically. Yeah. And if it comes down to, okay, we're just going to take the novel and just readapt it in modern age, okay, fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because there are movies that were made in the 60s, 70s, and 80s that could be a good story now in a modern age.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sounds like they're not going to, but I was saying that before they announced Brian Fuller from Hannibal fame is doing a new Christine. And he did say that he's going to keep it in the same time period. But I was arguing before that ever got announced that would actually be a cool one to do a sequel of Christine, where Christine is resurrected and it's back in this time, and maybe even cast the same actor as Dennis now, that he'd be an older man, where he, the kid somehow gets in touch with him, and the kid that, maybe the Dennis character, the friend of the guy that has the car in 2021 finds Dennis somehow, or he's like, I know your friend had this car, and it could be I thought it'd be an interesting thing. Of course, I'd love to see what he's going to do, just telling it in its own time period that it was. But yeah, so I guess for me, reboot is, I always think of it from the realm of TV and movies. Yeah. And that just basically means they're taking something, they're mostly ignoring everything else, then just making a new version. Spider-Man, Batman's had it a number of times. But I think when it comes to something that has a book, if it was Firestarter, if Firestarter was just an original movie idea, and this would be a remake then.
Yeah.
Carrie, but like as this in this, we can't call it a remake because it's not a remake. They're not remaking the original movie. They're taking the book and doing a new take on it. And I don't know. I guess reboot. I like I said, my knee jerk reaction was I hate that term here. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, actually, that is the right term because if you have a book foundation, doing a new take on it would be a reboot. You're not remaking the original. You're doing your own thing with the source material, which in this case is a book. So a little bit of a tangent, but I was kind of like not liking that term, but then I thought it through. I was just curious what everyone else thought. But because I kind of like the idea of it being called a reboot. But yes, there's some more coming too, right? Because I guess Christine, that's not.
We got Christine.
It's not a remake, like it's not gonna trample on anything that was done previous, whatever. So, I like the term here. But let's go ahead and get on here with Sydney Lemon, and this is exclusive. Sydney Lemon will be playing the mother to Charlie, the lead character of Blumhouse Universal Weed Road Pictures Firestarter, and the wife of Zac Efron's character in the feature reboot of the Stephen King's 1980 novel. The picture follows a young girl who develops pyrokinetic abilities and is abducted by a secret government agency that wants to harness her powers or powerful gifts as a weapon.
The shop.
The one thing I'll mention too, I as I'm reading it, because I'm going to watch, because I haven't watched the movie probably since I was a kid, is I was like, Rainbird. I want to, and then I was like, I don't think it's done well if I remember right. So I looked it up. Yeah, no, it's George C. Scott.
No, it's not. It is not done well.
It's just like the most random. That's like probably one of the the most cringeworthy castings. It's kind of like, was it John Wayne as Genghis Khan or whatever back in the day? It's kind of one of those where you're just like, that's not good.
Dude, the original Firestarter is on HBO Max. I'm gonna have to watch that.
I'm gonna watch it once I'm done with the book, which hopefully will even be this weekend because I'm pretty well along. Like I said, only
I'm
a couple
so
hours
happy
left.
that you're reading it. I fucking love that novel.
Like I've almost messaged you a couple times. I almost told you when you got here, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna save it for the show because I'm in it. I'm loving Rainbird. I actually was kind of guarding myself a little bit because I've heard a lot of hype for Rainbird over the years, and I was just like, I don't know if it's going to live up. He's going to live up to the hype that people have put on him.
That he's a conniving bad guy. Or?
Just the great villain. Up there with Annie Wilkes in terms of just masterful. And I just don't know if I bought all that. Just not having ever, and I don't remember the movie pretty much. I think it's one of those ones like we mentioned a few episodes ago. There's just some that the Hollywood Video near me. There's just some movies I didn't have. Yeah. And those movies I wouldn't have had as much exposure to because if I can't rent it there, how am I going to watch it? But yeah, I having read most of it now, not toward the end, obviously, I will say, yes, he lives up to the hype. Rainbird is a fucking killer villain. And I can't wait to see him played by the actor playing him. I'm blanking on his name now. I know he's a native guy, and I know his last name is kind of like Rainbird. It's a very native last name.
I'll get it here in just a second.
Which I love. I mean, of course, I don't think the guy's like 7 foot tall like they make Rainbird out to be in the novel, but then again, really who is?
Michael Grey Eyes. Grey Eyes,
yes. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a new version of this, and I'm also looking forward to watching the original movie as well once I'm done with the novel here. Let's see. What is this in the chat here? Michigan. The best thing about the Firestarter movie is the Tangerine Dream score. I'm really looking forward to watching it again because I don't remember much about it, man. I really don't. I think I remember, I don't even remember. I just remember what's her name, freaking Drew Barrymore, being really creepy a little bit. But not enough to to say a lot. So I'm looking forward to finishing the book, watching that movie, and then looking forward to seeing this new version come out. But then let's give some background on who this is in case you're not familiar with her, because I don't know if I was. Lemon most recently starred as Anna Hellstrom in Marvel Hulu series Hellstrom. She previously guest starred in HBO's Emmy-winning series Succession. Oh, I'm sorry, that's where I'm familiar with her. And if anyone has watched Succession, there's she's the one that she's the lead actor in one of the brothers' girlfriend's Broadway play, and then the other brother takes her out and kind of ruins the whole thing because he takes her on vacation because he falls in love with her for a minute. She plays that character. And she's also in AMC's Fear the Walking Dead, for which she received a Saturn Award nomination. She has been in Dan Gilroy's Velvet Buzzsaw opposite Tom Surridge, an official selection of the 2019 Sundance Film Festival. She'll next appear in the independent feature Plain Fiction. So it looks like she's all over the place, and she's kind of an up-and-comer. So yeah, she'll be playing the role of Charlie's mom.
Wait, the upcoming Plain Fiction?
Yeah. Feature Plain Fiction is what it's called.
Interesting. According to IMDb, that came out in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm guessing it may have even been one that was. Independent movies are weird. Sometimes they'll come out and then like they'll get bought at some later date, and then they'll get done like widely, and it'll be 2-3 years later that they finally actually get like a wide theatrical release.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Oh, it's an independent one. You did say that.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Definitely not unusual.
Yeah, I was just perusing over her IMDb to see if there was anything else that I know, because not every time the biggest thing is something that I know. Like like if you go back to the actress who's playing Charlie in Firestarter, we both know her from It Chapter 2, not from. Well, she's also one of the younger girls in Black Widow. I just saw that.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize.
Wasn't she also in Dr. Sleep?
I think so.
Wasn't she Violet at the very beginning there?
The first.
So, if I'm not mistaken, there, if you could look that up, that would mean that she's had 2 very disturbing deaths in Stephen King properties. Because it gets her under the bleachers.
Oh God!
And I know that's her for certain, but I'm blanking if the Dr. Sleep ones is her, or if there's another thing that we've talked about that was that actor as well. Maybe it's the same actor, maybe it's not. I'm kind of blanking. But
she's Victoria in It Chapter 2. She is not in Dr. Sleep.
So yeah,
that's her character's name in It Chapter 2.
Maybe it was a dreamcast or a dreamcasting thing. Remember there was that dreamcasting where the person cast Firestarter, but only with Stephen King alums.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if he picked the girl from Dr. Sleep, is maybe what I'm thinking in my head. Okay, so next up, prequel, Pet Sematary, adds Mayor of Easttown Revenant actors, exclusive. This is by Mia Gallopo from The Hollywood Reporter on July 9th, 2021. The latest Pet Sematary installment is filling out its cast ahead of its upcoming August start date. Mayor of Easttown actor Jake Mulhern and Forrest Goodluck, who is known for starring opposite Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, have joined the Untitled feature, along with Big Sky's actress Natalie Allen Lind and newcomer Isabelle Starr LeBlanc. Let's see, Lindsay Beer will direct from a script that she wrote based on the draft by Jeff Bueller. Lorenzo Di Bonaventura and Mark Vanderin will produce. Goodluck's other credits include Apple movie Cherry and Sundance winner The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Mulhern was most recently seen acting opposite Kate Winslet in the HBO breakout Mayor of Easttown, which I would highly recommend, and is also known for his role in the Netflix young adult series The Society. Lynn's credits include The Goldbergs and the CW's Tell Me a Story and Marvel's The Gifted. LeBlanc will be seen in the upcoming basketball drama Long Slow Exhale from Paramount Television Studios. So that's kind of who some smaller roles. We don't know who they're playing, but we are getting some other actors. This is going to be an interesting one, man. I think this is going to be one where we're going to, as we go, we're going to end up finding that we don't really know anything when a trailer comes out. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Which, I don't know, that's not super common. Usually with Stephen King, we have some understanding of what's going on, but with this one, who knows? Doesn't sound like it's going to be a sequel. Sounds like it's going to be a prequel, and we know some that might be used from the novel, but who knows? They could come up with all kinds of crazy stuff. It's kind of like It, right? If they did a third It movie, they could easily with all the backstory stuff. Yeah. But I'm sure they could even invent some other things to go along with.
Well, they don't cover every single cycle in the book. There's cycles that are not covered across the board. We could even go back. I mean, we just talked about Fear Street a little bit earlier ago.
Yeah.
1666.
Yeah.
I mean, we got time.
Yeah.
Maine's been around for a little bit.
Yeah, that is true. It's not California. That they got settled much, much later. It got settled very, very early, being on the East Coast there. Settled by, of course, the white people that came and stole the land from
no kidding.
natives. I can't necessarily say that these other lands weren't already lived in.
Occupied, yeah.
Yes. So now, Let's go ahead and look at the list of what we got here. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention Chapelweight. I have this in the odds and ends, but I didn't do it here. Chapelweight will premiere on Epix on August 22nd at 10 p.m.
okay.
So I updated that one because we now have a solid date. We were hearing for the last episode, we heard that it would be August, but now we have a solid date that it'll be the 22nd of August at 10 p.m. I don't know what Epix is, but I'm sure we'll have to.
It's a channel like Showtime.
Okay, and if it's one that you can,
I don't think it's paid like Showtime, or maybe it is. I don't know.
I hope it is, because if it's paid, then I can subscribe to it and watch. But if it isn't, I don't know what I'm going to do. It'll be like freaking Mr. Mercedes all over again, where we spent years not being able to watch that damn show. And I'm sure
Epix has looks like they have an app. It's a cable network, is what it says.
Okay,
but it says here there's Epix, and then it says to log in. So
okay, so maybe they have hopefully they have one that you could subscribe to without having cable, because that's the problem with some of these things is they'll have an app, but then it's like, oh, if you have a cable subscription, you could sign into our app. It's like, go to hell. Nobody has cable anymore.
Watch with the app, $5.99 a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to sign up for that when Chapelweight comes out, because I'm looking forward to that one. So that is our new updated thing. I also got rid of Lizzy's story now that is in the full suite. I think the finale just actually released on Apple Plus or Apple TV Plus, whatever the hell it's called.
Is it? Okay. I think I need to look at doing a trial.
Yeah.
Because I have that one and then the soccer one that you keep telling
Ted
me
Lasso.
about. Ted Lasso.
Yes.
It came across my suggestion because I have that YouTube channel that I like. Honest Trailers.
Yeah,
and
they did an honest
They
trailer.
did an honest trailer for it. I'm like, well, I can't watch that until I watch the show.
That's true. That's good. So. I'm glad. I wasn't even overly a fan of that one actually. Some of theirs I'm like I love, other ones I don't. That one I was just like, it's all right. Like the honest trailer.
The honest trailer.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso though, you're in love with.
Yes, absolutely. I'll probably watch it a third time before it debuts here in like a week. For the new season. But yeah, here's
a new season coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should wait then.
I don't know, man.
But we'll see. But I'm only going to do a trial, so it's like
there's plenty of email addresses out there for trials. And the thing is, though, is you might just watch season 1 and go, you know what? I'll keep the subscription through season 2, and then
dude, I have
cancel.
too many streaming services.
Legit,
I did.
Who do you think you're talking to, sir? I'm sure we can compare. I'm sure.
I don't. Well, the worst part about it too is that I get Netflix for free.
Oh yeah.
So you don't because of the because I have it through my cell phone provider.
Yeah.
But I have the family plan and you have the solo plan.
Yeah.
Which makes it so that you can't get it. Right.
Yeah. True.
Stupid. You know what you should do? You should move over to our cell phone plan and then we'll just give you our sign in because then you're on our plan and you can use it.
Oh yes, I have a lot of different streaming services. I
have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime.
Honestly, I'd probably have to go through and actually
HBO
look.
Max.
I'd probably have to go through my account and look at my auto pays to figure out which ones I actually have.
4 streaming services, and that doesn't count the one that we watch the gaming one where they play video games and make videos out of it. With Rooster Teeth.
Yeah,
that doesn't count that one that we watch videos for them almost every single day. That's just mainline streaming services. So it's like adding a 5th one. I mean, come on, man. I'm not saying shit. Disney Plus.
I'm not saying permanent. I'm just saying you might watch season 1 of Ted Lasso and realize the second season's about to start, and then just hang on to it for a month while the new season.
How much is Apple Plus?
It's like $5 or $6 a month. It's not like a $15
one. It's not a Hulu
no,
15?
No. Yeah, not at all, which is good. So then jumping over to odds and ends here, and if anyone's looking at the time and wondering that we've sped through, the Palaver section will be big, plus we have some emails. We have one unfortunate email to go through. We'll get to that in terms of
what?
Let's just say Gmail did me dirty on things. We'll get to it in a second. We got to get through this stuff first.
Okay.
So odds and ends. First of all, a really fun thing, a collector's edition of The Dead Zone is coming to Blu-ray.
Okay.
So that'll be a really fun one. Definitely a wonderful book that I read for the first time not too long ago, and the movie is obviously really great. And I always love seeing collector's editions that come out. I think they did a 4K, reprinting from the film and stuff, so they should be pretty good looking on it there. So
Excellent.
Looking forward to that. And then next up is King murders an entire organization on Twitter. He tweeted out and said, "Memo from Stephen King, Red Sox fan, to Rob Manfred, MLB commissioner. Subject: schedule question. Message: is it possible we can play the Yankees the rest of the year?"
I'm assuming the Red Sox swap them or something.
I looked into it. They have won every game against the Yankees, and the Red Sox are at the top of the division. The Yankees are at the bottom of the division.
Are they really?
Yes.
Oh, damn.
So, and that's actually been going for a while. The Yankees not been doing well this year, because I've noticed it every time I look at the standings and see them at the bottom. It makes me happy. And I can say that because I don't know if we've had anyone that's actually emailed us that they're from New York or that they're Yankees fans. I know we have at least one person that's emailed us that's a Red Sox fan. Remember, they read the finale right around the time of the 2004 World Series. So I'm happy to say that, yes, the evil empire, the Yankees there. If they lose, that's fine. But no, yeah, I had to share that because Stephen King, he has a murderous wit, and that is definitely a good one there. Okay, then next up, we have Uncle Stevie Recommends. So the first one here is, he says, City on Fire by Don Winslow. He says, only one word for this book, superb. So that's pretty awesome. And I did a little bit of research on this. Don Winslow is considered by some, quote, America's greatest living crime writer. So he's pretty notorious author apparently in terms of doing good stuff. I hadn't honestly heard of him. I will admit I don't get into I don't get into fiction as much as some people do. I tend to read a lot of Stephen King and I read a lot of nonfiction. So I wasn't as familiar with him. But here's the synopsis of this book. Providence, Rhode Island, 1986. 29-year-old Danny Ryan is a hardworking longshoreman, loving husband, loyal friend, and occasional muscle for the Irish crime syndicate that oversees much of the city. He yearns for something more and dreams of starting over fresh, someplace far away. But when a modern-day Helen of Troy triggers a war between rival mob factions, Danny is embroiled in a conflict he can't escape. Now it is up to him to step into the breach to protect his family, the friends who are closer to him than brothers, and the only home he has ever known. So that is the synopsis, and yeah, King calls it superb. So
actually sounds really good.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. And then actually looks like I mistakenly did not grab the screen grab of this other tweet from Stephen King for recommending, but he tweeted and he said The Guardian on the superlative line of duty, and it's weird, like in his tweet he like quotes them and then he adds to it, and it sounds like The Guardian said about this show Line of Duty, he said this is less like watching TV and more like you're being abducted by it, cuffed and then dragged along. So that's like from The Guardian, but King is tweeting this. And then he says, it is one of the best police series I have ever seen. Impossible not to binge. Bears comparison to The Wire, which is...
So what's the show called?
Line of Duty.
Line of Duty, okay.
Yeah, and it's a BBC thing, and I looked it up. It is on BBC. All 6 seasons are now available to stream in the United States via the service BritBox, which is a BBC thing that they have that you can sign up for I think it's like $5 a month, and you could watch BBC stuff. So, yeah, apparently
BBC.
I'm intrigued. The fact that it's calling he's comparing it to The Wire,
which we know you're a big fan of.
Yes, and then he says impossible not to binge, and he says one of the best police series he's ever seen. So that's a lot of praise there. So I'm definitely intrigued.
Another streaming service for us to look into, Ted.
I had to look into it because I'm like, BritBox, I've never heard of this. My hope is that something like Amazon or something will have like an extension where you could like subscribe and it'll be inside like the Amazon app. If you ever use those, like those are handy because.
So I found out I recently just had a little snafu with my Vudu account, which is where I do my digital movies. Trying to redeem the Jurassic Park code. We bought Jurassic Park on Blu-ray. It came with a digital code. So we're trying to redeem it. It's not working. You have to do it through Movies Anywhere.
Yeah, and then it'll send it to your...
You link it to your accounts.
Yeah.
I found out that not only is my Movies Anywhere linked to my Vudu, it's also linked to my Amazon. So I can go through my Amazon app to watch the movies that I usually go through Vudu on.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Because the Amazon app on my TV works a little bit better than the Vudu one does. So it's just interesting. So I know, I know what you're talking about with like the little extensions for stuff that I've purchased already. Yeah. No, I just mean in terms of they'll have like little things like, I know at one point I did Showtime. They have HBO on there too. To watch like, I think like Homeland or something I wanted to watch. And I did it through Amazon where I just subscribed there and like then I would just go into my Prime app and watch Showtime through there or whatever. Exactly. So those kind of things are handy. I'm hoping like that maybe BritBox might be something like that. That would be fun and handy. Same with Epics, I'm hoping, but
I don't know. Because, yeah, sometimes some of these ones that are just like, if they have their own app, the apps suck sometimes when it comes to these smaller ones. And I'm not even necessarily saying that Amazon has a good app, by the way. I think their app is terrible as well. It's one of the worst designs for an app. But I do use it, unfortunately. Okay, so then that moves us over to the Palaver section. And this is what we've been we talked about at the top of the show. We have a big discussion to go through here, and it is top 5 Stephen King novels. And this is one that Chris from Australia sent to us, and it is one that I was I don't know, like I felt like we had done, but I don't know that we actually had. The more I thought about it, and I think I even looked through our notes, because that's a cool thing. I have everything like in just like Google, like whatever suite, so I'll just go into my Google and I can search like top whatever, and I searched a few things and I couldn't find that we've ever done anything like this. We've done adaptations. We did an adaptations one. I think we even done like TV series or something, but yeah, I don't think we've actually done the actual novels in a ranking type of way. So basically let me grab it here. So King top 5 King novels. Thank you, Chris from Australia, for the prompt. The rules are Dark Tower is a single entry, and you can use short story collections, but you cannot use individual short stories. And of course, we want to count down because that's what you do.
Where's the fun? Because we actually didn't just throw out our 5 favorite. We actually ranked them 1 through 5.
And I will say, I think most people gave me numbers, but those that didn't, I just put them in order of 1 to 5. If they didn't, if they just listed me 5 without numbers, I just assumed the first one they listed was their number 1. That could be incorrect, but that's what I did because that's what worked. So
if it's wrong, let us know. We'll lash Tad for you. 10 lashes each.
So yes, counting down. And then I will say I've got some notes from people. We got one person that sent a little bit more, and I'm okay with that, definitely. Some people didn't have notes at all. Some people had little short ones. And then Mike here had a longer one, so I'll keep his a little bit separate. But I had to start off with the intro here from Mike. He said, "Dear Tad, sorry for how long this is. Feel free to cut out as much as you feel is needed. I know how short and tidy your shows are." And I laughed because I thought that has to be a joke, right?
Oh, we're short and tidy?
Yeah, he's like, I know how short and tidy your shows are. Like, that has to be a joke, right? Like,
maybe.
Like, short and tidy are either of those shows or things that you would apply to our show. Like, Mike, I hope you're joking there, and if so, like, well done. That is a superb wit there because, yes, our shows, Palaver, right? We have it right in the intro that, it's going to take a while. Like, that's the whole, and for me, that's the definition of Palaver is long, drawn-out talk. But, yes, so I'll have his separate there because the others, so I have it like in a sheet, and I have little notes here for everyone. So we're starting at number 5.
Spencer says in the chat, making Father Callahan proud. Robert also says in the chat, listening to a lot of Tangerine Dream in my college in early years, and put a
early 90s.
Early 90s, and then some mushroom emojis.
First of all, thank you for the emojis. Second, those look like Mario mushrooms.
Okay, we have to have a conversation real fast about your use of emojis in the Discord. Like, you could just ask people, say, hey, is this good or is this bad? You don't have to do the thumbs up and thumbs down emoji.
Oh, you definitely do, sir.
No.
I disagree. I think you must. I just threw another emoji in the chat for you there. And then Agamorphy says, oh, yeah, he's definitely being facetious. I certainly hope so, because, yeah, if he thinks that our show is neat and tidy, I want to see what other shows he listens to. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to count down from 5 to 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do... Peter and myself will do ours, and then I'll have a secondary slide for everyone else's. So I will go and just kind of list everyone that is involved here. Chris from Australia sent one with the challenge. John from Buffalo emailed one in. Aaron from Oklahoma, and he actually has an intro here as well. I'll read while we're doing intros here, because the other ones, not everyone gave it. Some people just sent us just the list, which is totally fine. Aaron from Oklahoma says, Heil, Tad, and Peter. Heil. He says, I hear you're gathering the top 5 King books from the extended quartet. Here are mine. And he says in parentheses, feel free to leave out my comments to speed things along on air. Can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. And I think if everyone would have done comments, I think it probably would have been the only thing we covered on the episode. But since only a few people did, that's fine. We'll just we'll do the comments for everyone.
Hey, Mike's in the chat. He says he was joking.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Hey, excellent.
Sweet. I assume so. It definitely gave me a good laugh. That's for sure.
Well done, Mike. Well done. Done.
Yeah, well played. Steve from Chicago, Hans, and then we got Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania, which on the slides I had to shorten to Penn because Pennsylvania is way too damn long. And you'll see, it's weird how this worked out. With the people emailed in, it ended up fitting the screen perfectly. If one more person would have emailed, I would have had to start doing different things for formatting. Kat. Then we have Robert. And then Robert says, did not include the Dark Tower because that needs to be and I think Robert may have misunderstood. I think he responded on Twitter. He says, did not include Dark Tower because that needs to be a series. And other than Firestarter, I'm trying to keep the movies we haven't seen adapted yet. So I think he's thinking of it maybe from adaptations he wants to see, which I just wanted to put that just in context.
Is that the Robert that just chimed in about listening to Tangerine Dreams in college? Is that you, Robert? Let us know.
And then Justin also emailed us. So that's our list of folks that are that have chimed in. So like I said, we will start with.
Mark says in the chat, keep your shows long. It makes work easier. Hey, it is Robert in the chat. Excellent.
Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it here. We'll start off with number 5. So number 5, and is it up on the screen for you yet? There we go. So you're a little bit behind, which is definitely fine. So number 5 for me is It. For you is The Outsider. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of discuss this here. Like, first of all, like we could talk about reactions to the other person's, as well as why we have what we have and where we have it, as it were.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll say for you, The Outsider is surprise a bit. It's a newer one, but I don't know if I've heard you talk about The Outsider enough to have expected it, I guess. It was a bit of a surprise for me.
I have talked about it. You must have missed it. I reread The Outsider once a year. Ever since it came out, I've reread it. In fact, the year that it came out, I reread it twice.
Oh, okay.
So when I say reread, I mean obviously audiobook, because that's the easiest way for us to consume books nowadays, it feels like.
It makes me feel good because I rushed you on The Outsider.
You did.
Once I hit Holly Gibney, I stopped what I was doing and I texted you, Peter, get The Outsider now. You need to start this.
Not going to lie, that's also part of it, is that there is a awesome connection to, Mr. Mercedes and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which was
unexpected.
Which was a consideration for my list, is the original, the first Mr. Mercedes, because I know we're counting the Dark Tower as series.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't count the Mr. Mercedes ones, especially between 1 and 3 would go together, and 2 would be separate. So with The Outsider, they're not one
separate.
cohesive
just
story.
Like If It Bleeds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Completely separate from it. So
somebody on Twitter asked about if they could count Black House and Talisman together, and I said if you wanted to cheat that way, you can certainly.
I don't see that I would absolutely allow. That is exactly like the Dark Tower. It's one cohesive story together between the two.
Yeah.
It's not. It would be the same if someone's like, "Well, I love The Shining and Doctor Sleep."
See, I think those are separate
same
to
and
me.
everything.
I think those are separate.
They're far enough apart, and they're obviously completely different stories. But if someone, like you said, cheat and put them together, I would give them a pass for that one.
And we're all about cheating a little bit every so often,
of course.
right? I mean, that's
of course. But for me, The Outsider, dude. The crime with it, like the true crime aspect that I love.
Yeah.
Literally, before we went on the air today, I told you how I had just watched a documentary on Amazon that was over 6 hours long, just covering the most prolific serial killers in America.
Yeah.
I love true crime.
Yeah.
The fact that Stephen King has a true crime with a Stephen King twist is just, mwah.
Yeah.
I love it. I seriously go back and I read it almost once a year.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. It was definitely a surprise for me. Yeah. In terms, I love The Outsider, certainly. I will say, man, this list was really hard for me.
Was it?
Yeah, there was like maybe 3 other things that were really, really close.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at least one point, I'll just mention it because it didn't make the list. It does for somebody. But there was even one because this list, not necessarily the whole thing, but especially like the number 5 slot was hard.
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
like I will say, there was at least one point for a time that it wasn't even on my list in the Dead Zone was on there.
You got to be kidding
Because
me.
I freaking loved the Dead Zone, dude. Like that book had me, and I ended up obviously and honestly, if you ask me in 6 months, this list could be different potentially, like whatever. But it was hard. I'm trying to think of some of the others. I think The Outsider may have been in my consideration at some point. Doctor Sleep, I know, certainly was.
Yeah.
So this number 5 for me was hard, and it's not. And it's about the quality of all these, not necessarily like the lack of quality of
No, yeah.
It's just a matter of like,
Well, it's also personal preference. That's why Outsider trumped out a couple others that didn't make my list. I mean, I can say it just like you just said it. People will be shocked to see that Carrie and Firestarter did not make my list.
yeah.
With how much I rant and rave about those are the ones with Mr. Mercedes and The Outsider that I was sitting there going over and over with and everything. But then I went back and I actually gave myself an almost an honest look in the mirror and be like, which one have you read / listened to the most?
Yeah. And like that to me, like, and the thing, my problem is I've only done the Dead Zone within the last year. I think it was, if roughly a year. 2020 was obviously only half a year, and a year ago is 2019, right? But somewhere in the course of probably since 2019 to now is when I've read the Dead Zone. So I haven't really had time to know if I'm going to how often I'm going to reread it. But like you've obviously given me a lot of shit for because I went so long without rereading.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think part of it is not that I don't dislike the book. It's just that there's it's not as easy of a read. Not that it's hard, like it's, I guess, emotionally. Like some of it's just not fun to read.
No, it's hard. I'm to the part that you're talking about with Bev's dad.
And I think there's multiple. There's a number of different things where it's just like when I look at it as an overview, there's certain things that come to mind where I'm just like, I'm not going to enjoy reading that as much. And I'll just give you a little bit of a tease that may be coming back to my list at some point. That idea of like whatever. But it ended up moving back onto the list ultimately because those things aside, if I think probably wouldn't have made my list if I hadn't done that reread for our episode that we did not too long ago. The fact that I've done that reread that much sooner, I think actually helped keep it on the list for me, just because like it is so great in terms of the coming of age side, as well as like in terms of iconic wise. Like I think we've talked about it. Isn't it probably the most iconic Stephen King work of all time?
It is.
So
I don't think anyone who
and I don't mean to say like I'm letting like the iconic nature of things like influence my thing. What I'm saying is that like it's one of the most iconic for a reason, because it is some of the most terrifying shit, and it is some of the best writing he's done. So like ultimately, yes, it came to me where I'm just like, as much as I loved the Dead Zone, as much as I loved like The Outsider, there's a couple other ones I kind of juggled with and ended up not making my list. I was going to do an honorable mentions, but I forgot to do that. But yes, there was a few that I was just like, it couldn't. But yes,
well, it's like we were talking about with the Body earlier. It's probably the second best coming of age story the King has.
yeah.
I mean, can you name one off the top of your head that's better than it? Maybe second to The Body instead?
And even The Body, I mean, that's a short story, so it's just,
If you're looking at novels,
it's on a different level.
You get a whole lot more with The Kids from Derry than you do with The Kids from the Body.
Yeah, and then when we're like, I was thinking about the kids challenge we have coming up in a fortnight from now, and I was thinking to myself, like, because I mentioned one of the rules for that one is that if we see the characters as adults, you can't let that play into your equations. So like Dan Torrance, what happens is Dan Torrance cannot influence your ranking of Danny, and it is the same way. And it made me think like how startling that is. Like, you know, what was it, 2 decades or something between The Shining and Dr. Sleep, and then in one fucking novel he covers the same age range that he does in 2 novels for The Shining, and it's just crazy. So yes, that ended up on there. I didn't know if I'd get any guff from you that it was as low on the list.
I'm honestly shocked, especially with your reread and how well you took back to it, and the stuff that you ranted about it in our episode and everything. I'm honestly shocked it's this slow. I am.
And it is honestly, for me, it's 100% it's not about the quality or lack of with it. It's the quality of everything.
Yeah.
Like, it just, for me, it's just...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I will say with this challenge, again, thank you to Chris, because honestly, I even learned a little bit going through this. I don't know if I would have guessed all 5 of mine. If you would have said knee jerk, right, if Chris had thrown that on in the live chat and we had just rattled them off there live, I don't know if it would have been the same list, and we'll get to it. But yes. For me, it's 100% the quality. These are all quality,
Yeah.
and I could probably easily do a top 10 that would be quality. Like, I
yeah.
think I think you'd probably have to get into like maybe a top 20 to 25 before you start to see a fall off in
Yep.
terms of whatever. Like top 10 though for King, like would be easy. You could do that standing on your head because like he's got at least 10 or 15 that are just so fucking good.
Well,
that-
we both already mentioned like a few honorable mentions. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I rant and rave already. I've said it. I rant and rave about Carrie and Firestarter all the time. Those two didn't make it. Mr. Mercedes is another one that I truly love.
I thought long
like-
and hard about Mr. Mercedes, man.
It's so good.
It is real, and I just watched the series, and I just reread reread them recently. But yes, I there's a lot of honorable mentions. So this is a really tough list, which I guess is maybe the point.
Yeah, I love it. I love the challenge of trying to whittle it down to 5.
I also have to mention Chris. I think he responded on Twitter, or he's just like somebody responded there. He's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "That's coming up." And he's like, I can't wait to hear what mine were, because he sent the email a while ago. And I'm guessing that his list then versus now may be different, which I'll admit right away that, yeah, if we did this in 6 months, my list will probably be largely the same.
Well,
but
it could also change because there's new stuff coming
There
out.
might be different movements in terms of what's at what level, as well as there might be different ones on the list for me, because it's very of the time that you ask. Like moods change, so this is certainly my list for now. It may not be the list later.
The list as of 2021 in July.
Yeah, July, exactly. So let's go ahead and jump over to everyone else that emailed in. So Chris from Australia at number 5 had 11/22/63. Which definitely one that I'm sure we'll be seeing. I'll just give a tease. Yes, we see a lot of on this list across the board. John from Buffalo has Hearts in Atlantis, which is one that, as a matter of fact, we will be doing on Patreon soon. We're going to be doing a deep dive on that fairly soon. As soon as we get a chance to getting it read and getting the work done on it. And then Aaron from Oklahoma has the Dark Tower series, and he says he has some comments here. It says I was drawn into the story during book 2, Drawing of the Three, har har, and I love all the installments to some degree. Though Wolves of the Kala is probably my favorite.
Good man.
So that's his comment there.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I think Dark Tower is one that was certain we would be seeing on the list
I would hope
in
so.
various places. If not, it's definitely strange to. I mean, I wouldn't like hold it against anyone if Dark Tower was not on their list. But it would be strange if it weren't. It would be notable, not strange. And then Steve from Chicago has Nightmare and Dreamscapes, and that's actually one I've not read yet. I believe that is a short story one. And I've actually hit some of his short stories pretty hard, and I'm going through some non-short stories right now. I'm in Firestarter now. Then I'm doing Talisman and Black House, and then after that, I'm going to jump in and do probably 2 or 3 more short stories ones. And so Nightmare and Dreamscapes might be up there, pretty high on the list here for me soon. And then Hans has The Green Mile, and he says his comment was his first King novel. Was The Green Mile. So that's he gave a little note for that there. And then Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania, as you can see here, it's a SE Pen because Pennsylvania is too damn long. Signed Tad from Utah. Very short state.
UT.
Hey, at least it's not Massachusetts, though, right? Isn't that the worst state when it comes to number of letters? And
Does anyone know how to spell it?
yeah, I wonder that. As a kid, I remember thinking, like, how do kids in that state learn to spell their state's name? Like, when I was in whatever grade it is, when you like learn the states for the first time, and you're like, whatever. I remember like not spelling it right, and I'm like, how the like Utah? That's easy, 4 letters. Just move on. Mike has Dr. Sleep. Definitely, like I mentioned, very close to being on my list. I loved Dr. Sleep, but I think the reason that it didn't make it for me was because I haven't reread it probably since it came out. And that's not to talk bad on it, but I do remember absolutely fucking loving it. And I didn't know that I would. When they first said, "Oh, it's the sequel to The Shining," I'm like, I had a bad feeling about it. But King did a good job. But yes,
Before we
there.
go further, I wanted to throw this in there from the chat. Agamorphy, that we know very well from our chats here on YouTube with the live shows. That's Steve from Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So-
I believe maybe I don't know. I try to keep track of everyone, but sometimes it can be.
And then we
tough.
have Mike here, and then we have Robert here, who also put into the chat that yes, I misunderstood the Twitter question. I thought it was what adaptations you would like to see made next.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, we do talk a lot about adaptations, so I could see that confusion, but that's fine. That's Robert. That's why I actually put the note on there, just so it could be made clear that this may not reflect your actual top 5 novels, which is fine. Okay, so then next up, Kat has Carrie. Which is definitely a great one. You mentioned one that you've talked a lot about.
I struggled with not putting that one on my list.
Yeah.
I struggled so hard.
Yeah, that one wasn't as much of a struggle for me, but it did make my preliminary. Basically, what I did is I tried to make I always do what I call like a shotgun list, where I'll just make a list of like knee jerk, like, okay, I have to make a top 5. Cool, let me make like a top 15 list, and then I'll weed it down.
Yeah.
And that's just my strategy when I do these kind of things. And I will say that Carrie and Salem's Lot were both ones that made my initial 15 some odd. I think it ended up being like somewhere in the 12 to 15 range, and then I had to whittle it down. Carrie and Salem's Lot both being early ones were ones that were early on my list. They just couldn't make the cut. And then Robert says Duma Key, which I know is one that Chris from Australia is very fond of as well. And then Justin says Pet Cemetery, which is definitely a good one.
Yeah.
Although I could easily say that I bet you there's some people that probably don't want to read Pet Cemetery just by way of it's not necessarily the funnest book to read. It's very good though. I will say it's very, very good. It is a bleak fucking book.
What you were just talking about with there's it's a struggle to read through. That's Pet Cemetery in its entirety.
Yeah, I would say like Pet Cemetery. Like we always talk about the bleakness of The Mist, the adaptation, the Frank Darabont film. I think Pet Cemetery has that same bleakness. It's just a King novel.
Oh yeah.
So rather than being a 2-hour movie you sit through, no, it's like a freaking book that you're reading the whole thing, and it's just bleak as fuck, dark as fuck, scary as fuck. Like it's just
You know which one is that for me? Is Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Dude, there's not much good that comes out of that, really.
Yeah.
So that's like Agamorphy, aka Steve from Chicago, says the top 10 would be easiest. But yeah, I think that's what I love about Chris's challenge here is that it's top 5 instead of top 10. So
yeah. Then Agamorphy Cell says if you would write this now, I would have to say Revival for number 5. So yeah, I mean
again it fluctuates.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly does. Okay, so then moving on here to number 4. Again, for us to start with, and then we'll get to everyone else here. Mine is The Shining, and yours is 11/22/63.
How the fuck is The Shining that low for you?
Honestly, this is one this is one that surprised me. Like when I said earlier, I learned something about, because honestly, I don't know if I would have put initially, even when I was making this list and kind of like trying to whittle to the top 5. The Shining wasn't making the list most of the time, and it was only after like deep reflection I realized, like, you know what? No, it has to be on the list. So, honestly, knee jerk, if you would have asked me just on the show in the comments or in the chat, I'm sorry, and I would have done the list knee jerk. I don't know if The Shining would have made the list.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked by that with how much you love The Shining.
Yeah, and which is why it's on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, when it really came down to it and I started to realize that I was kind of leaving it off, I like realized to myself, like, wait a minute, this might be the scariest shit that King's written in my mind. Like the Room 217 scene is fucking terrifying. The topiaries are fucking terrifying the 2 or 3 times, because I think once at least it attacks Danny. It's Jack out there seeing it, and I think there's one other time
it goes after Callahan. Not Callahan. Dick Halloran.
Yeah,
Halloran, not Callahan. Halloran.
Yeah, he mentions him. I don't know if we get a scene where he actually.
No, he gets fucking mauled.
When he's coming back.
When he's coming up, they fucking maul him. Dude.
Yeah, but
like full on, like claws on his parka, ripping through him and everything like that. Yeah.
And I will say, like when it comes to like Kubrick, of course, one of the all-time great movies. But I will say 100% that King's novel is 100 times scarier than Kubrick's movie. King's novel is just fucking terrifying, and it's so well done, so well written and I mean, that's why I've been pounding the drum for probably a year or two now of I want to see a new adaptation that's true to, and maybe I've taken the steam out of that a little bit because Flanagan did such a good job encompassing the novel of The Shining in his Doctor Sleep movie that maybe I'm not as hard up to see this version, like King's version, on the big screen. But it's definitely a top 5 for me. And yeah, I'm actually surprised. Like I said, I was surprised about it, but you're surprised for the opposite reason. You thought it'd be higher for me.
I honestly thought it would be top 2.
Okay.
For you. If top 2 for you in my head is Dark Tower and The Shining. Like, that's just what I picture for you.
Okay. So
they might switch back and forth depending on the day.
I will say 11/22/63 is the same. I thought for you it'd be higher.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to see it as low here for you. Because again, you've talked about it as much as I have. Honestly, I will say, and we have some stuff we'll talk about at the end when I have some nerdy stuff to go over with this list. But yeah, I just think we both hyped it up so much over the years that I'm surprised. Yeah, I was surprised to see it as low.
11/22/63 is probably my favorite of King's post-accident work.
Yeah.
Of anything that he's done post-accident, it's probably my favorite, which is why it's at the number 4 spot. Outsider is right on its heels, and it's probably going to pass it here in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And you know what? It doesn't hurt that the fucking miniseries for Outsider is so fucking good.
Yeah.
I've actually been circling that because I have HBO now, so I'm like, should I go rewatch it? I think I shall.
You know what, honestly, because I think we've come to a conclusion. I don't even know if I've declared it yet, but I think I'm to the point after our Shining episode especially to where, like, the whole idea of King hating the Kubrick version, like, I think I've pretty much come to a point to declare that we're never talking about that again on this show. Like, I still see it come up at times with different articles will mention it and stuff, and I'm just like, no, we're done with that. I am done with having that fucking conversation. I'm tired of it. Like,
it's time. It's time to put it to rest.
So I don't think that I've, like, necessarily full on declared this might be it, but yeah, and I think honestly that may have been poisoning The Shining a bit, just the whole contentious thing there, and then like the whole idea of Kubrick versus King and like the two different versions of the story. That may have been what kept me leaving it off my list. Then I realized, you know what, to fuck with this, all we're talking about is the novels here, and that is one of the best novels King's ever done. Yep. So then it ended up on my list. So but yes, I certainly, like, part of me may have been poisoned, like you mentioned, The Outsider being helped by its adaptation. And as much as, like, I always say, Kubrick, it's one of the greatest films of all time, greatest horror films of all time, easily. But at the same exact time, equally, it is one of the worst adaptations I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. I think it's both. And, you know...
it can be both. It doesn't have to be a bad movie because it's a bad adaptation.
Yeah. And, like, when it comes to, like, people, like, you know, like, the thing that's been hot on Twitter recently is people discussing what movies are better than the books. You know, that's just a conversation that's come up. I haven't necessarily seen anyone say The Shining, which I'm glad. I actually saw people saying the opposite, that, you know, actually The Shining's better than the movie and stuff, which I agree with 100%.
Same here.
But, you know, I was just bracing myself, though, when I kept seeing those conversations. I was bracing for someone to say The Shining, but luckily no one did. But
you're about to be like, all right, come on.
Yeah, because it's like, I just, I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy because, usually there's, like, one that just, like, I don't know, even in the just one outshines the other, but I think King's book is so strong it just can't be outshone even by Kubrick, you know.
The thing with 11/22/63, I've actually been kind of shouting from the mountaintop about this book in the last few months. I see a lot of people that are doing, like, summer reading and stuff like that. My sister is 9 months pregnant. She's about to give birth on a scheduled, you know, date later this month. She threw it out there on her Facebook. What are some novels? I need some audiobooks because I'm going to be in the hospital for a while with this because it's like a scheduled thing and everything with it. And I said, hey, you know what? You've never read a single thing by Stephen King? Read 11/22/63.
Yeah.
If you're going to introduce anyone to Stephen King and you're not going to give them the quintessential King, you know?
Yeah.
You're not going to give them The Dark Tower. You're not going to give them The Shining or Salem's Lot or It.
Like the classic King.
Classic King.
Yeah. Like, basically the stuff from the first Golden Age.
Exactly.
You know, like
if you're gonna give them something that they can enjoy without having, like, the horror aspect, there is some horror. There is some intense moments in 11/22/63, some aspects of horror, but for me, 11/22/63 is Stephen King's greatest love story.
Yeah,
it is so damn good.
Yeah,
it's
definitely that's hard to challenge. Certainly, it's certainly hard to challenge. And it's not that he can't do love. I think he's done some other good love stories. But yeah,
Wizard and Glass shows that he can write love.
Yeah. But I think So yeah, like I said, I'm just a little bit surprised that it's as low as it is, but yes, that was my reactions there.
There's 3 perfectly good reasons why it's this low.
And I think I'd say the same thing about The Shining. There's 3 wonderful reasons why it is where it is. And then Mike in the chat says Lemon 2263 is one of those books where non-concert readers don't believe that Cy King wrote it, i.e. Stand By Me and Shawshank. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I think you could easily rip the cover off of it and give it to someone to read, and I don't know that they would even... You know, especially because if they're not King fans, they wouldn't know King's style. So, yeah, I would be willing to say they would have no fucking clue that it was Stephen King. Like, they really wouldn't.
My mom when watching The Green Mile with me. I've told that story before.
Yeah. Okay, so that leaves us going over to number 4 for everyone else here. The extended quartet, I guess, is what I called it. So we have the Tad and Peter one, and then the extended quartet one here. So the extended quartet, Chris from Australia has Doom McKee, which again I mentioned. I knew that was one that he loves a lot. Have you read that one?
Yes,
you did on his reference, right? I still haven't yet. So
it's good. It's good. It's definitely a unique take for a different avenue that King goes down.
Yeah, and it's not even the first time it's brought up on the list. Robert had it here at number 5 so yeah, it's definitely it's one that I have higher on my list now based on the fact that people have hyped it as they have. I'm looking forward to reading it at some point. See me, I'm like trying to plan out what I'm doing, and I think I kind of have a plan, but I don't know if I've gone any further than after the Talisman Black House. 1-2 punch. After Firestarter, I'm doing those 2. Then after that, I think I'm going to actually hit some short stories again, because there's a couple of them that I haven't done yet. So I'm looking forward to that. And then John from Buffalo has Dark Tower here at number 4. And then Aaron from Oklahoma, which again, I don't judge anyone. I mean, we had let's see, Dark Tower was number 5 for someone, for Aaron, and then number 4 here for John. Everyone has their tastes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see Dark Tower all over the place, not just across. Because if it was like number 1 for everyone, I'd be a little bit like, do you guys just feel you have to put it at number 1? Like, don't feel that way.
You know what makes me happy about this is that our fans can be honest.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I love that.
That's what I want to see.
We've said that from the beginning, especially with like how diverse people felt about the film. Is we've said it from the go. It's like, hey, you can have a different opinion. Just don't be a jerk about it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing we care about.
I'm all about friendly disagreements. Like when it becomes non-friendly, then like in my mind, you're not welcome here with that.
And that's the reason why this podcast exists, is because we've had so many of those disagreements and those friend discussion where it's like, dude, you're completely wrong. Like, obviously Magneto's a bad guy. Like, obviously.
Slander.
Yeah.
Slander.
It's true.
But yeah, so John has Dark Tower there at number 4. And then Aaron from Oklahoma has It, which, is one that I've already had at number 5. And he says his comment for that was one of King's all-time scariest, and I love both adaptations. Which, again, that isn't even necessarily part of the equation, but we both already admitted that actually does somewhat play into this, because sometimes it could either make you think a little bit less of a story or think more of a story based on the adaptation.
The hard part also is that while you're reading it, can you put the adaptation out of your mind?
Yeah.
Because there's been times where we've talked about it with The Stand. There's characters from the new Stand that are going to cement
I've
in
just
our head.
Not too long ago finished my Stand, and I will say, there's some new faces.
There are some new faces
for me.
There's also some old faces from the original adaptation.
Yeah.
It's the same way with It.
Old Baldy is still the original for me.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
He's not like the Greg Kinnear's not even bald, so
no.
he can't be.
He can't be the old Baldy.
He can't be Glenn.
But that's the thing with the adaptations is can you separate that from it, or like my case with The Outsider, does it just help it?
Just helps it.
Because I can tell you right now, the next time I read The Outsider, guess who I'm going to be picturing when I read about Ralph?
Yeah. Krennic.
Yeah.
Director Krennic.
Yep.
What's it, Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah. He's fucking magnificent too.
Dude, he's a fantastic
I don't know if I've
actor.
seen anything with him yet that I have not absolutely adored him in. Like everything he's done has just been like
He
killer.
was in Captain Marvel, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was the Skrull guy.
Yeah.
The green guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just been great in everything I've seen him in. So put him in all the things. And then let's see. Yeah, did I say it? Aaron from Oklahoma. Yeah, I just read his comment. That's right. Make sure I'm not losing track here. And then Steve from Chicago. I keep looking at the screen, just making sure, because like I copied and pasted all this over into the slides, but I'm just like slightly paranoid that like I will.
Oh, so you're looking at
wrong.
the original.
Yeah,
and then the slide.
I built a spreadsheet to put them all in to track everything, but I think everything's right here. So he's got 11/22/63. So like I said, there's just certain ones I suspected would show up a lot.
That matches what I put.
And this is it does. 11/22/63 is one that I expected to see. And then Hans has Rose Matter, and he says loved the vibe in this book, and that's actually one I've not read yet. So definitely. And I love it. I love seeing some of these that are different. That's what I love. That's what's great about King is his playground is very wide. And at some point, hopefully, I will have read all of these. Maybe it'll be fun to revisit this list at some point.
Yeah.
And then Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania has it as well as Aaron. So it is showing up quite a bit as well. Not that I was surprised by that. Certainly one that I suspected. And then Mike mentioned this in the chat. The cat has On Writing at number 4. And then she wrote in hers, or I guess... so it was a countdown for her or she was counting up from 1 to 5, and then she says now it gets tough. So I guess Carrie was a very tough one for her to pick, but I guess the top 4 were more solidified. And I will say I was damn close. On Writing was still on my list pretty late into the pruning process for me. It really was, man. I love that book, just because it's like autobiographical, kind of tells King's story, but also lays out his view on writing. Like, I mean, both. Like, it's both like educational, but it's also kind of King's only big stab at telling his own story. So
I need to read that. I've never read that.
Yeah, I loved On Writing. So Cat, great pick. And yes, I'm glad to see it there, because it makes me happy when there's ones I was like heartbroken didn't make my list, but then somebody else had them. It made me happy. And On Writing was definitely one where it was like when it didn't make my list, I'm like, shit. Probably nobody's gonna have that one on there. It's gonna get no love. So Kat, thank you. You absolutely made me smile with the fact that it did still make someone's list, because it's a great one. And then Robert has Firestarter. So again, I'm only a few hours left of the book, listening to it. So hopefully I'll be finishing it soon. I'm loving it, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, loving Rainbird, and just overall, it's not what I suspected, I guess. I don't know fully what I suspected, but it's not exactly what I had anticipated. I think maybe I expected the whole thing to be like the first half, just being on the run, like the entire thing. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. It's playing out differently than I thought it would. So definitely
not necessarily
interesting.
A bad thing.
No,
right?
no, not at all, not at all. Definitely at some point though, we're gonna have to have a conversation where we talk about the shop. The Wolves of the Kala, let's see, the Institute. There's just all these things that, like, these all exist in King's universe, and I just wonder what all their relationships are with each other. It's intriguing.
All the parent companies are North Central Positronics.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting conversation to have, I think.
What is it? The Sombra Corporation.
And I'm not sure if it's that, but it's definitely intriguing for sure, because King has these very interesting organizations in multiple books and it's cool because he writes them in a way that they're not. You can't even necessarily just say like I'm going to blur my eyes and say they're all the exact same thing, because they're not. There's way too many differences with them where it's just like you can't just hand wave it away and go, oh, they're all the same thing, just using different names. Like, like the CIA is like the CIA or the company. There's like different names you have for the same thing. Like, no, it's not that. Like, these are all
FBI, the feds.
Yeah, it's like these are all different. Like, so which is good, because like I think if it was all just one thing, it'd be far less interesting to me.
Yeah.
So yes, loving.
Well,
Firestarter.
that's like with the Institute. I'm like, is this a shop? Like, is this like a department of the shop? Like,
and I think we even talked about on the show when it first got announced. When we were given the synopsis. We're like, dude, like
we've heard this before.
Yeah, well, like even like me not having read Firestarter at the time, like we were thinking like this could be like Beam Breakers, like being these, because it's all the same types of kids, right? And then you got the True Knot as well, which is just a very wild card, but it's similar, right? They'd be going after the same exact kinds of people that all these other organizations are. So very interesting with King, for sure. And then Justin closes us out here with number 4 with Salem's Lot. Again, one that I it was on my list pretty late in the trimming process. I love Salem's Lot. I honestly think those first couple books, Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining, those three are really, really hard to to completely discredit. Those all three could probably fit on my top 5 in some way. If 5 just had more spaces, I'd be able to fit them all in there. But because they're all just so great that I think they could all fit in there. You know, if I thought about, like, if I went through and reread some of these and then did this list again, I think you might actually see like Salem's Lot or Carrie show up on my list potentially.
Really?
I don't know how, because you'd have to eliminate things. But you know, but God, I love Salem's Lot, man. I've been thinking about a reread on that one soon because
it's so good.
That's a freaking great one. And then Carrie, we just did for Patreon, we did a commentary for the Carrie thing. Ever since then, I've been like, I want to read Carrie again.
I actually do too.
So there's that. Let's see. And Agamorphy says he also Dan's Macabre for Stephen King's discussion of horror. Yes, that's actually one I definitely want to get around to at some point too. A little bit more nonfiction-ish. Yes, that's definitely one that I will be reading at some point. It's definitely hard tackling King's. You know,
Yeah.
It'd be much easier if I were just like Thomas Harris fan. You know, you're certain like 6 books, you know, and 5 of them are Hannibal. So, but Stephen King, he is a machine. Or if we're a George R. R. Martin podcast, then we'd only have a couple books to read, and decades between books coming out. So,
well, that's what we were if we were Dark Tower during the series coming out. If we did a radio show or a podcast back in the 90s, we'd be waiting for book 5.
A ham radio show.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in here on.
All right, so then moving on to number 3, and then as we start off here with Tad and Peter, for me, got 11/22/63, and you have I did not put yours as the stand, but you see the cover, obviously. I think I copied I copied it somehow, and then I somehow missed your.
Well, that's what my last
there.
one was 4 was 11/22.
Maybe that's what it was, and as I was just copying it, and I forgot to edit the text there. Sorry about that. Gotta have some mistakes every once in a while, right?
No, the show runs smoothly. Remember? Tidy and short.
Yes. For the stand, I was a little bit surprised. I guess maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what I suspected. I mean, that's the problem is we're talking top 5 here, so it's really hard to be like, I can't believe that. Like if we were doing a top 50 or 15, it'd be a lot more. Would be like, holy shit, But when you're talking top 5, like this is cream of the crop, no matter what you're talking. So I don't know if there's really any realm of surprise, but anything you want to say on the stand?
I honestly, for the stand, this is the book that cemented me as a King fan. I started off with Salem's Lot. I read Carrie. I read some other stuff, but reading the stand, that's world changing. To see a post-apocalyptic world wiped out by flu, to see like the terrifying character that is Randall Flagg, such a fantastically well-written character, one of the greatest villains that I've ever had put in front of me in any iteration, in any media. This includes Star Wars and Darth Vader and everything like that.
Yeah.
He is easily up there for me with characters that keep me up at night. If they were real, I would not want to ever cross them.
Yeah.
And the characters in there are flawed. They're not perfect, which is King's way of just giving us the great journey that is the stand.
Yeah.
You not only have the travel to Vegas journey, the actual stand part of the stand.
Yeah.
But you also have the journey of them coming together.
Yeah.
And it's not just about
the cross-country journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets them to the staging point, basically.
Yeah, and it's not just the good side either.
Yeah.
You have Nadine. You have Trash Can Man with
Lloyd.
The kid. You have Lloyd with meeting Flagg.
Hell, Harold.
Harold.
Can't loop him with the good guys.
No, you cannot. But it's so fascinating, and there are parts of King's works that are hard to stomach. We were talking about it with it. There's one part of the stand that every single time I get to it, and they talk about what happened with the zoo, my stomach clenches, dude.
In the stand,
it's so hard.
I forgot to mention that earlier. Agamorphy said it is my fave, but Tom attacking Bev parts are difficult ones. That's that reminded me that he had said that, and I was meaning to read that comment, but
I was saving it just because he mentioned which one is his favorite. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yes, there's certainly stuff that is harder. And yeah, the Stand, is that
that's the Stand?
The Zoo is the.
That is the hard. That's one of the hard ones for me. There's a lot of hard stuff in there to read. Family members, like some of the stuff with like the military and what the government does.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch. Franz, one of the ones that's it's just a passing sentence, but you get the whole scene with like the movie studio where they're just picking IDs out of a hat and then executing them on TV.
Yeah.
Fran watches that and is like, "Oh wow, this is such a weird TV show."
Yeah.
It's like, no, like Fran, that is actually happening.
Yeah, that's real.
But I will say, the other thing with the Stand, and I have to shout this out anytime that I talk about the Stand. What is it? Chapter 38, No Great Loss.
Yeah,
is one of, if not the most fascinating things I've ever read.
Yeah.
Where it just
and
goes
the first
through,
thing you ever read too for Stephen King or for the Stand.
For the Stand.
Yeah.
Because
that's how I sold you.
That's how you.
It actually wasn't even like that I was trying to sell you on the book. I think it was more just like, dude, this chapter is fucking incredible.
Literally, that's what you did.
And I need you to read this just because it's that good. Yes. Yeah, indeed. That's definitely interesting. So you're saying some of those darker things is maybe what kept it lower for you, or just
no.
There's those things are just thoughts you have on it.
It's just like the thing is that you can't have light without dark. You can't have dark without light. The part with the zoo, you get the Susan character from it, and you see where she came from and what she ends up doing with her life. For the Boulder Free Zone and everything like that. It's so massive to see, like, I mean, Stu Redmond goes from being a part-time worker in a Texas community that's, in a sense, dying.
Yeah.
In a dying town is what it feels like, to being the most important man alive for a short time in the the most important man in the United States without anyone knowing about him.
Yeah.
Because think about that for a second. He is the one person that they have that is immune to the virus, and they're trying to figure out how and why, so that they can save the human race, they think, using him.
Yeah.
Stu Redmond is the most important person in the United States of America there for probably a month.
Yeah.
And then they try to just fucking off him. Like,
they inject him with the virus.
They inject him with the virus. He kills it. They done at the end, they fucking come in and try to just shoot him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tie up loose ends. It's just like, God damn, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
To coming full circle to where he's, I don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
Him and Fran at the end of the book, they pack up and they leave.
Yeah, which is very fitting because, like, that's what I would have done. I would have,
Ted, be perfectly honest. You wouldn't have been in Boulder. You would have been in Vegas.
It's a fun town, Vegas. One thing, I guess I'll hit 11/22/63. I don't think it should be a surprise that it's on the list for anyone, let alone us. We've hyped it a lot, but yeah, it is one that it is more modern in King's pantheon, but I think it's the gold standard when it comes to modern King. I don't know if there's anything better, and I do actually think that I would hold it in like the realm of like number 3 level, which means it's greater than almost all of his works for me. It really is that good. I'm a huge fan of the JFK assassination, like just nerding out on that, like conspiracy theories, just the whole Oliver Stone movie. Basically, that movie encompasses it, like when it comes to like the conspiracy nature of it all. And it's just, I've always been fascinated. Peter asked me earlier if I went to Texas, what would be top of my list, and easily it's Dealey Plaza.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there's no doubt for me. It wasn't even a hesitation. Like that is number one. Like if I go to Texas, that is the number one thing I want to to go see, because it's fascinating. So yes, shouldn't be a surprise. I will say, I'm trying to hold myself to kind of a pattern to do new reads, at least 2 to 3 new reads for every reread. And then there's a little bit of wiggle I've done with that, because like Mr. Mercedes, obviously, when I went through that series, all 3 of those are rereads. So, but I counted that as one.
Yeah,
it's like,
but you're going through one story.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that I said that they didn't count earlier, but let's be perfectly honest. you're still reading about the same characters.
Yeah,
but
and I'm not gonna like, I don't want to like read Mr. Mercedes now, then read 3 new books, and then come back to the second book, and then read 3 new books, you know, that I haven't read yet, and then and I will say though, like maybe after Firestarter, I don't even know. I don't know if I'm going to jump. At some point, a reread's coming because I've read a number of new ones now. At some point, 11/22/63 is going to be on my reread list because it's been a while since I've read it, and I'm definitely jonesing for it. One other thing I actually forgot because he has a little bit of a longer note, so I didn't put them in the spreadsheet, which is my fault. So I've fallen behind on Mike's. So Mike at number 5 had Dr. Sleep. I want to read his note. He says, I was so glad to catch up with Danny Torrance. I absolutely love that Danny turned into an asshole. He says a-hole, but I'll fill in the blank there. And I love that Tony was still there trying to help him. The book took The Shining from the Force in A New Hope, and he says, where we barely understand it, to the Force in the prequel trilogy, libraries of knowledge about it. We get to understand it more, how it worked or how it works or doesn't work, the randomness of who gets it, how they use it and don't even know it, and how it attracts its own predators, the True Knots. This may not be a popular opinion, but I think that the True Knot is one of King's better villains.
Oh yeah,
and like I don't know, like I don't know if I had the greatest grasp of them out of the novel as much, but certainly Flanagan with his work has made them, I would agree. I think they're up there as some of the better villains, like Rose the Hat. And I think there's just part of it, bringing it to life on screen just makes it more real for me in some ways. And it's so, and like the baseball boy, let's not kid ourselves. That might be one of the most disturbing scenes in horror movies, period. So they're pretty vile. And he says they've been around a long time and honed their skills to a fine edge, but like Moz, they could control being drawn to the bright light. And she has friends. What a great ending.
yeah.
So, I will say too, as much as I love that book, I will say I think Flanagan's outdone the book. I think Flanagan did a better job of the ending, for instance. And I know King couldn't do what he did because of the different natures of the books versus the movies, but I just think that there's something great about Flanagan's. And I know he's also kind of cribbing from the Shining ending, but it feels neater to me than King's. I think that, I don't know. I almost wonder with King's, like, maybe you just don't worry about going to the Overlook because you blew the Overlook up, right? Like, and I get what he did, but I just think it is like Flanagan was playing in an easier universe because the Overlook still existed, so you could go back to it. I just felt like even when I read it the first time, I remember thinking like, okay, cool. So you're just going to the grounds of the Overlook. It's like, it's kind of cool, but like it is just the grounds, like. Because the nature of the way The Shining ends, right? It blows it up. So I get that he can't have it there still. But I don't know. It's just weird the way it works to where because Flanagan had to deal with also Kubrick's world, he just ended up in a way where I think he had so much more to steal the ending of The Shining a bit, combine it with Dr. Sleep, and just create just a masterful fucking ending. And I just think he did a great job.
Well, but doing a great job with that versus the original source material, I mean, that's apples and oranges. That's like saying what you were talking about with like the King and Kubrick discrepancy between the two. It's apples and oranges comparing the two together. Saying that Flanagan did a better job wrapping up the story with Dr. Sleep is asinine because he has Kubrick to build off of. Yeah, he's building off one of the greatest horror films of all time. And
it's not even that for me. Like, it's just that I just think it felt better for the overall story, just the way that he ended it. And again, I get because he's playing in almost a different universe. King has a different, because he's basing it off of his own book, whereas Flanagan had to bring in the obviously the Kubrick film. But I just think there's some that felt more cohesive about his. Like I said, I'm even talking about when I read it the first time. I remember thinking the Overlook's grounds. Like I just wasn't as in love with that. Like I love everything about it.
You need to reread Dr. Sleep because if you're just thinking that it's just the Overlook grounds, then you miss the whole point of that ending with going back there. Because there's a whole part with Danny where he gets the skeletons out of his closet.
Yeah, I know.
There's
a
whole part there that wraps up Danny's story where he is going to be okay.
Yeah.
You'll finally get it after years and decades after the Overlook that Danny's going to be okay.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of because of the two differences the universe has had, that just having the Overlook still standing, which I know King didn't have that option. just made it more impactful, and I just think it came off a little bit better. Like to have the house, and I don't know, it's just I think Flanagan did maybe a little bit of a better job than King, but that's just the way I view it. But I do need to read it again. I love I'm not dogging Dr. Sleep. I fucking love it. Like I said, that was really close to being on my overall top 5. Like, in fact, I almost cheated and used that and The Shining together, and just like, I'll just put it together because I wanted to, like I told the guy on Twitter, we're not, cheating is not below us. Like, when we're doing these lists, we're not writing like, laws and books that are going to be like whatever. We're just making lists. So sometimes we might cheat a little bit,
Just a little
hell,
bit.
even Chris let us do it by making Dark Tower 1.
Yeah.
Making the Dark Tower 1's a huge cheat because, dude, imagine having to do this list and considering the Dark Towers as their own. Like, that'd be a hell of a lot harder.
No,
that would be a hell of a lot harder.
That's not fair.
That'd be a hell of a lot harder. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So then also number 4, I just wanted to catch up the 2 that we skipped on him because I forgot to read his notes. Number 4, he had It. He said, I saw the miniseries way before I read the book, which I'm the same. Yeah, I imagine going through all the time without knowing what I was missing. This book, I think, more than any other, is where King gets his reputation for being the king of horror. But I think lost in all that is King showcasing his ability to write interesting people. He mixes 50% abject horror and 50% showing the Wonder Years, and it turned out amazing. Every member of the Losers Club could have had their own book, and that's how well written they are, and everyone loves a clown. Wink at Peter's wife and hand her a red balloon. I mean, I do agree with all of it, including the part that everyone loves clowns. So, I agree. Every one of those characters could have carried their own book easy. That's a great way to look at it, too. Like, like what characters in larger books could actually just spin off their own books easily, all those. And that's a lot of characters, too. The Losers Club's not a 3-person group or anything. It's a pretty big collaboration of humans there.
Yeah, 7 of them in 1958.
Yeah. So, that's just wanted to catch up on that. Apologies, I lost those notes there. So then jumping over to number 3 for everyone else here for the extended content, we've got Chris from Australia has The Shining. So that's an awesome one. Again, I already had it on mine as well. John from Buffalo has The Long Walk. Which is one that, I didn't overly care for, but I think it was 100% my mood. I think I just read it at the wrong time. I just don't think I was in the mood for that book, and I just think that I was too stubborn to, like, put it aside, so I went through it all. And I just don't think, because you know how that is, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, there's probably at least one King book you just wouldn't be in the mood for if I was to say, you have to read this right now. You wouldn't, if you're rereading, for
Tommy
instance.
Knockers.
No, you said you never wanted to read that one again.
That's
Like,
true.
I'm not saying like bad. I'm just saying I just think The Long Walk, I wasn't in the mood for it, and I read it, and I just think that at some point down the road I'll read it again, and I'll be in the mood, and I'll fucking love it. I'm sure, because there's nothing bad about it. I just don't think it was the one that I was in the mood for, and sometimes you gotta know what your mood is and cater to that a bit.
I think I honestly feel that way about the Institute because there was like, it's not a bad thing, but there was pressure because we were talking about doing a show for
We
it
both
and
we both
everything.
read it twice within like a month
and
or two.
It's a lot.
It doesn't hold
yeah.
up. It doesn't hold up to have twice in a couple
No.
months.
Well,
That was rough.
Name me a Stephen King book that you could read twice in a month and be like, "Yeah, I'm great."
I think it'd be one of those earlier ones that were shorter. Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, because they're short, you can get through them quickly. But like even The Stand, I love it. I couldn't read it twice in a couple months.
You just finished it. You
Yeah.
ready to start it again?
No,
Yeah, exactly.
no. I need to have that proverbial cigarette after the sex. You it's just can't jump right into it again. Like, no way. I just finished it, for God's sake.
Was it good for you?
But yeah, so John, Long Walk, I'm sure that's a really, honestly, I think it's a universally beloved one. A lot of people love it. That's why I'm just like, I'm almost certain like that I don't hate the book. It was just that I read it at the wrong time. So it's 100% on me. Sometime down the road, I'm sure I'll come in and go, Eureka, I read it again. I actually, I was in the mood for it,
Yeah.
So yes, got that. Aaron from Oklahoma, Salem's Lot, again, one that I was really hoping to get myself. He says, I've read this one twice, decided it was on my top 3 after the second time. It's scary and very well written. Yes, indeed. I do adore that one. Especially the new adaptation coming out. I think I've been jonesing for that one.
Yeah.
I want to read that one again soon. So then Steve from Chicago has Different Seasons. And he says, even though I never want to read Apt Pupil again, was the note he put in there for that one, which I don't remember. I remember the movie for Apt Pupil more than I remember the actual reading the actual short story. And even the movie, there's a couple portions there that are kind of disturbing. So I can imagine at some point I need to reread different seasons. I believe, short story wise, that's one of the first King ones I ever read. Actually, I'm certain it's the first short story one I ever read. In fact, it's probably like one of the first 5 overall King I ever read, period. I read that one really early on, so I need to jump back into that one at some point. Really good. Hans has the talisman.
Hell yeah.
And then he says, he said C reason at number 2. So it's the same reason that he likes his number 2, which I won't give his number 2 away, but I'll read his note. It says Dark Tower references and loved the atmosphere. So he said the same thing for the talisman. So yeah, he's got that one. Mike from Pennsylvania has the Shining. And then he's, or the Shinning.
You want to get
Wants to
sued?
get sued. And then for that one, he says number 3, The Shining. I love the character of the characters of the Torrance family, so well written, but I love the character of the hotel so much more. The way that King gives the hotel personality is amazing. When the book turned the end differently than the movie, I was shocked to realize that I love both endings at the same time. Off the top of my head, I can't think of another example of this. Red rum. So, yeah, no, and it's true though, because that's what we said earlier, right? Like, usually you could just pick between the two, but it's like you can, like, for me, it's like it's not. The Shining, it's like it's one of the greatest novels that King's written, and it's one of the greatest horror movies of all time, but it's a bad adaptation. It's weird. It's
got a lot of complex moving parts.
Yeah. So that's his note on that one. Good pick. Kat has Skeleton Crew.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, I enjoy that. I just read that one not too long ago. And then Robert has The Long Walk, so another Long Walk entry here. And then Justin has The Dark Tower. So again, Dark Tower showing up just about everywhere, which is awesome. I love
I think it's been in every single spot now by someone.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the spirit of it. So then
This is the question for me. I know what your 1 and 2 are. I just don't know which order they're going to be.
Which order they're going to be, and that's where it gets to here. And I'll preface it, and I'll throw it out there and say, remember earlier I said the whole like mood kind of, there's just certain moods that make you whatever. That plays into my 2 and 1 and how they line up.
Okay.
So number 2, let me go ahead and click it here. For me is Dark Tower, and for you is It. And I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. You know what my number 1 is. Well, really what it comes down to is there's stuff in book 4, my favorite book, not too easy to read. It's not necessarily the funnest stuff to read.
What are you talking about? You love every part of everything.
But
all the hard stuff to read. You're a monster.
But even like book 7, like I drag my feet reading that because it's just not easy to get through. So like, and it's weird to say because you know what my number 1 is, but I don't have that same qualm with my number 1. And who was it earlier that mentioned here in the chat about The Stand being hard to read? Let's see.
Oh, someone said that?
Yeah, Agamorphy's Stand is just so massive to jump back into. Or this is a different comment. It reels you in was so much more effective, and you could jump into great chapters or scenes of it. And I can come back to that because I actually would go the opposite. I actually feel the exact same thing for The Stand that he's saying for It, and he's so it's the differences of people, right? But I swear someone said that It was hard to read, but Stand. But for me, yeah, like, and I guess what it came down to for me was I thought to myself, I kind of always say I reread The Dark Tower about every other year, and I'm like, okay, why is that? Why do I read that every couple years, whereas The Stand I read every year? And it really comes down to two. It's like there's the size. It's that much more of a commitment. But that's not even necessarily as big a deal because I love long, right? Like you know my philosophy on buying audiobooks, right?
There's a reason that our podcast is not a half-hour segment.
Yeah.
Twice a week.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I love long podcasts, but also with books, it's like, dude, there's nothing better for me than when I'm like, oh, I kind of like, that sounds like a cool book. And I click on it, it says 33 hours. Oh my God, dude,
You're like, yes.
yeah. Or if it's more than that, dear God, like, I'm really happy. So that's not necessarily a huge thing, but yeah, I think there's just certain elements of it that aren't as fun for me. Whereas The Stand for me, like, even though it has its dark moments, for some reason they don't hit on me the same way that like it does, the way that some of the things the Dark Tower do. I can just kind of roll past those, and like I don't know, I always tell people like I feel like with the Stand, it's like I'm revisiting really good friends every year, you know. And yes, unfortunately, some of them go through some pretty horrific shit. I mean, of course, I shed a tear. Well, that's true. I don't have tear ducts, but every time my boy Randy meets his untimely end, but yeah. And the thing is too is I guess that's where I came to for this list, was kind of just trying to decide is like the Stand for me. Like I don't sit there and like I don't dictate to myself, Tad, you thus saith, you will always read the Stand once a year. No, it's just that once that 11th month rolls around, you know, I start to kind of jones for it, and then by the time the 12th month comes and it hits around June or so, I just can't. You know, like whatever. Like this year, I remember having to speed through something. I can't remember. I think it was Lizzy's Story, because I started that one super late. So I was like, I had to rush through that. Not rush through it, but like I went through it quickly because I'm like, I got to get to the Stand, dude. I need to read the Stand. So that's what it was for me. But I will say also, this is the ultimate Sophie's choice for me. It was tough. I've actually like if I can go back through and look at my edit history on this spreadsheet, you will see the Dark Tower and the Stand flip flop at least I think 4 times. So I've gone back and forth on this list. In fact, I think it was even this morning when I was coming to do final show prep, I believe Dark Tower is number 1. And then as I was building out the slides, I think I changed it again. So it really is Sophie's choice, dude. I can't. It's honestly, like if it really came down to it and you let me completely cheat, I would just say they're both number 1. It's like 1A, 1B type thing, because literally you could ask me in a fortnight when we have another episode, and I'm probably going to say the Dark Tower. Or next time I read the Dark Tower again, you could probably ask me and be like, okay, do the top 5 again. I don't know. It would flip flop, I think. So that's my explanation. I expected maybe some razzing from you, but yeah, number 2 for me.
No, you know what? Honestly, whichever one was going to be 2, whichever one was going to be 1, I'd understand.
Yeah.
There's a reason for your love for the Dark Tower. There's a reason for your love for the Stand, and it was just interesting to see which one was going to trump the other one.
Oh, and I'm sorry, you actually alluded to this too, and I just remember you said it, and it reminded me I was thinking the same thing. This was my or never mind, that's for number 1, but never mind. Number 1, it's the King thing. I think that was my first real deep love with King, was my number 1, and I think that has some to play with it. But at the same time, the other side of that coin, though, what podcast are we doing?
That's
right.
That's
so
it.
That's why it's like that's why it's like this is ultimately Sophie's choice for me. Making me pick between the 2 is really, really hard. But with the way that this, at least with where we record now, if we recorded 24 hours from now,
it could be changed.
This could be the other way.
You should check out the chat from Chris that just popped in.
Yeah. So that's kind of my explanation that I've been kind of going through as I've dealt with this Sophie's choice. So Chris from Australia, just dropping by briefly. I suspect. Great to see you doing the top 5 things so well. Your visuals are even in keeping with your new logo theme. Excellent. Yeah. I've been trying to keep our slideshows as on brand, quote unquote, as possible. So thank you, Chris, and yeah, definitely a good discussion. So with you, what about number 2? Because I actually, I'm not necessarily surprised. Same thing. I knew that it would probably be either it or Dark Tower for you as number 1 and number 2. So, I think we both, it's funny because it's like we're playing chess, right? It's like we're both thinking about each other's. It's like, what is he going to put? What's he going to put? And then we both went the opposite direction in terms of now for you. One thing I would ask is, do you think there's any movement on this, or would this be pretty solid for you? Like I told you, if we did this list again in a week, it may be different. What about you?
No.
With these 2, is it solid for you?
These two are cemented. These 2 are
okay.
Not going anywhere.
In terms of their positioning as well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
The big thing with it is in my opinion the greatest coming of age as well as
horror.
Yeah. Collaboration,
which is a weird mix too. Let's
is.
give King credit for how weird of a mix that is. Like if you went like coming of age tale and war story, okay, cool, that would be easy to picture.
You're gonna have a lot of those,
but it's like but like coming of age tale and one of the like most horrific horror novels of all, like that's nuts, dude. That is like strange magic.
I was gonna say, if you want to see the reasons why it is number 2 and why it's cemented here, I was looking to try to find out which roundtable it was where we discussed it, in its entirety.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, no, I was trying to find it, but I couldn't see which roundtable it was. But just go back and listen to that. I'll tell you exactly in detail there. But when it comes down to it, the bare bones of it is that the characters in it are so engrossing and the story is so well done that I can come back to it even with the disturbing parts. There's parts of that I have to be self-conscious about where I'm listening to it.
Yeah, we talked about that on that episode.
We did talk about that. I actually just recently had that happen to me because I am rereading it again because I could go off of the show that we did. I went off of memory. That's how well I know it. That's how much I love it, is that I could do that.
Yeah, because you didn't do a reread for it.
I didn't even have to do a reread for that episode. And for that episode caused me to want to do a reread. And you not reading it for so many years.
And you're still on the reread, so that means that we didn't do it that long ago. It probably would have been within the last number of episodes.
I'm still currently going through it, and literally last time we recorded, I stopped to get food on the way home, was the part where Henry gets his hands on Mike and gives him a mud bath, and has a few choice words for him.
So that was actually Chris's episode with the timeline because we were ultimately doing the timeline.
I didn't know.
So that was
I saw that.
So that was 105.
Okay, I saw that with the balloon. It's like going over Chris's timeline. I'm like, oh, so that's where we talked to Chris. That's not where we did the full episode on it.
We did kind of both at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Two birds with one stone.
I was separating them into two separate episodes when they were one, but I don't know who said it in the chat, but someone grabs it. It grabs you and just pulls you in.
Yeah, and that was and it was funny because that was Agamorphy. Stan is just so massive to jump back into. It reels you in with so much more effectively. You can just jump in. Great chapters and scenes in it.
And I'm gonna
second that.
I'm gonna not only second that, I'm also going to refute that as well. It and the Stand are the exact same.
I was going to say, because
when it comes to both of those, you can give me a scene from the Stand and you can give me a scene from it, and I'm going to be equally excited to read from those. I already talked about No Great Loss for the Stand.
Yeah.
I could give you three other ones. One of my all-time favorite scenes is the scene with Stu and Tom Cullen with Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That is so fucking beautiful to read and everything. Also with the Stand, Kojak's story.
The Kojak story. When you were reaching for words for that first one, I'm like, the Kojak chapter?
No, Kojak's story and everything like that is so heart-wrenching, so beautiful and everything like that. But it's the same way for me.
Yeah, and for me, like chapter 23, when Randall Flagg rolls in for the first time.
Oh, God, no.
I just count down to it. It's one of my favorite chapters. So, but it's weird for me. It's on the opposite. Like I said, with it, for me, I feel is a little bit daunting. Like, because it is long, and I just, in my mind, there's those certain scenes I think about that are, like, hard to get through. And you know what's funny is there's even scenes I don't remember. Then when I get to them, I'm like, oh, God. Like, what's her name's fucking husband and what's his name's wife? That whole thing as adults when they, her husband that's all freaking crazy and abusive and beats her friend. That shit I don't ever remember. But then when I get to
Tom beating on Bev's
Bev's friend, but then also but then what's his name? Stuttering Bill's wife. He catches her and Dare. Like there's just like everything with him, everything with Bev's dad. Like there's all the shit with Henry. Yep. Like I don't enjoy it. Like there's just like it's not that I don't enjoy it because it's bad writing. I don't enjoy it because it is written so well that I don't enjoy reading it.
It's the same. It's the same with like true crime stuff.
And it's like me. It's like. Yes, I could read about 99% of the country dying of a wasting disease and like the utter destruction of like society. Like me, I read that and I'm like eating popcorn, just going, yes, let's watch it. You know, like this is great. You know, and some of the horrible shit that happens in the Stand, like it just for some reason those things don't affect me as much. It's just, but it so again, I guess it comes out of taste. But yeah, so it's just funny because Agamorphy, that is a great thing, but I would have gone the opposite. But that's just me.
Agamorphy says, I think of it as a great American novel as well as a great horror novel, and that's 100% true. And then Chris says, for me, it has such an epic climax. Talking about the novel, whereas the Stand just kind of fizzles out in comparison. And you know, that is not something that I hold to. I think Stand has something that it doesn't have. Stand gives you the after. I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of people miss that with The Stand, is that the conclusion is Vegas.
Yeah.
That's your conclusion. That's
Yeah.
where it ends.
Yeah.
Everything else after that, Stu getting back to Boulder and everything like that, King didn't have to give that to us.
Yeah. And
Look at-
Chris says the toughest thing for me was the zoo and the stand, which is funny
That's
because
literally what I just said.
before you got here,
Yep,
Peter said the
yep.
same thing, and he said that was the worst.
Because
part of
there's
yeah.
part of that they talk about what they did to one particular woman, and
Well, no, they don't. She won't even. She says, "I'm not even going to tell you all the details of what they did to her."
yeah.
But yeah, it's rough.
Which is sometimes worse, because where does my mind go?
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen some shit now because of you and with the stuff that I put myself through with my fascination with true crime, with World War II and the Holocaust and everything. I've have stuff in my head that I will never be able to get out.
Yeah.
Fuck that book you showed me, by the way. The concentration camps of Nazi Germany.
The newer
God,
book.
that is so horrific to read, some of the shit that they put people through.
Yeah.
And it started before World War II.
Yeah.
Like, that was from early 30s. That stuff's in my head.
History's a rough one, for sure.
It is. And to have stuff that King writes be in my head with that, man, I think about some stuff that happens in it and some of the stuff that happens in The Stand, and they go hand in hand. Like,
Yeah.
But what it comes down to, the reason why it is number 2 and Stand is number 3, is simply I reread it religiously.
Yeah. Well, that's why
this.
That's why you guilted me when you found out how
Yeah.
long it had been since I actually discovered it because it wasn't in my Audible, and it's like, well, if it's not my Audible, that means it's been at least since 2013, because that's when I got Audible. Because I forgot
How the fuck did you?
Because I had forgot that, like, for a short sliver there, I was jumping into iTunes and I was buying audiobooks through them. And so, yeah, that would have been the last time. So it would have been like probably 2012, 2011.
That's so. How?
So, yeah, that's not a surprise for me for you to see it up here for you. Like you said, not even that long ago, we had a whole episode talking about it. So if you want to get into Peter's love more deeply for it, go ahead and jump over there and listen to that episode. We go on into that at length. And then, so moving over to the extended quartet for number 2. And then we're going to have a couple people here that match you. Chris from Australia has it. John from Buffalo has it. So got some people there with it in the very, very high regard, which is definitely not a surprise.
And then you got Steve and Kat that have the Dark Tower, just like you.
Yeah. So then Aaron has the Dead Zone, and he says, I knew this one was one of my favorites right away. He says, read it when I was a teenager. I love how complex his story is, and Johnny Smith is one of my favorite King characters. And honestly, Aaron, I'm so glad to see this one on here, because honestly, this fucking close, man, that this Dead Zone was on my list instead of it. So close, man. But again, I really came down to is the fact that I've read Dead Zone so recent that I don't know what kind of reread I'm going to have with that. In terms of, like, am I going to reread it? How often am I going to reread it? I mean, and the thing is like, as much as like some hard parts of it have kept me from rereading it as often as you do, I know that it's one that I'm going to reread fairly, like it's gonna show back up. Like, right, there's certain King books you may read and you'd be like, okay, cool, I'm glad that I read it. It wasn't even that bad, but I may never read this one again. And then there's other ones you may read, which you've mentioned, that you read and you're just like, I did not like this book, I'm not reading it again.
Tommy Knockers. I will never ever give Tommy Knockers another chance.
Yeah.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
You can't make me.
I won't say that if you pay me.
I will say there's I don't know if I'd have to think about it, but I would say the short stories wise, there's some short stories I'm like, yeah, I would not like going through them. Like, I hope that they are broken up, like on the audiobooks. I hope there's some that I can just skip, because there's some that I would love to read some of the short stories, but there's some I won't read again.
While we're on the discussion of paying people to do things they don't want to do, I just wanted to let you know, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. My wife finally put a price tag onto watching it.
Go on.
She said $500. I'm just letting you know, because for those of you who are newer or have not heard the story, when It Chapter 1 came out in 2017,
17, yep,
it was the same
year of King.
Year of King, right?
Yeah.
Dark Tower came out a little bit before it. when that first trailer dropped, that is one of the. Is it still the fastest trailer to get to 1 million views?
Yeah, I don't know if it still is actually, but it was massive. Yeah,
It was the fastest trailer to get to 1 million views. I remember that being.
Yeah.
I think Endgame beat it.
yeah, probably
Something like that beat it.
Yeah,
But it was massive, and it's still a fucking phenomenal trailer. I love the art of trailers. I love watching them. I love going back and watching old ones and seeing like
after you've seen the movie.
after I watched the movie. Okay, how did they advertise this?
Yeah,
well, that's a really
yeah.
shitty trailer for
Yeah.
this. Terminator 2, for example.
Yeah,
But Tad paid my wife $20 to watch it, and I was able to, and I recorded her reaction to it.
yeah,
I realize now it's even easier now for me to do that with my wife because of all the technology and stuff that I've gotten into with streaming and everything.
yeah.
So I approached the question on her again because, of course, I am listening to it, and I said, "Seriously, you just got to watch the movie. Like, how much? Like, legit, how much? Like, you keep saying there's not a price, but I know there is a price." Finally, gave me an answer. She said $500.
What about you? What about the price for that doll?
Do I have to keep it or just have it? Like, can I throw it away when I get it?
You got to keep it for 2 months in the house.
For 2 months?
Yeah.
Fuck, I'd do that for $1,000. It's just a fucking doll.
I just watched.
Does it have to be in the house or can
I can't remember the name of the movie. There was one recently that like there was like a possession witch type thing, and literally.
I'm sorry, Ted. I just read Mike's message in the chat.
Well, I'm just saying, there's a movie recently. It was the freaking dude that had the nailed bat in Walking Dead was the lead character.
Yeah.
But the whole premise was there was like a witch and like an enchantment that happens, and it was through a doll from like the 1600s that they found, and then they like destroyed it and it released the witch. So like that was in my head when I saw that doll too, because I'm just like, oh cool, 200-year-old barn, like. Who knows? Maybe there's some, and I just had that movie fresh in my mind. I can't remember the name of the movie now. But yeah. Let's go back here. Mike says, I'll pitch in 30 if she does it on YouTube for watching it. Then Robert says, start a GoFundMe. I'm in, but I want to watch a live cam. I mean, that's the whole point, right? I'm the same way. Then Agamorphy says Dreamcatcher with a
sick, disgusted.
Yeah, like near vomiting emoji there. So I'm guessing Dreamcatcher must be one when we were talking about one you'll never reread.
It's not a great novel. I'm not gonna lie. I read it. It's not great.
Yeah. And then Mike also says, I'll pitch in 30 more for Peter's divorce lawyer.
I'm sorry. I read that. I couldn't help but that's funny.
Okay. So then moving over to Steve from Chicago has Dark Tower at number 2. And then Hans has Insomnia, which we already read his note where he says Dark Tower references and love the atmosphere. So he has Insomnia there. Which I actually just read recently for the first time. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. I actually wasn't really jiving with it early on, but it definitely got me as it went on.
The audiobook is hard for me. I have never gone back and reread it simply because I hate the music stuff that they do in the audiobook.
Yeah, it is pretty bad at a couple points. Luckily, not the entire thing, though. When I was reading the comments, I was like, dude, is this whole book just ruined by music? And if there's like maybe 2 to 4 times that the music was absolutely fucking atrocious to the point where it was like almost ruining the whole thing, but it was only like 2 to 4 times, and music is there a lot more than that. So there's other times the music was there, but it wasn't ruining anything, I guess, in my mind. Mm-hmm. There was like 4 times where I was like, I took my headphones off. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, yeah, it was bad. And then Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania has The Stand. And his note here, he says, time for a bit of honesty. As a child of the 80s, I saw a lot of movies that I shouldn't have. And he says, see The Shining above. And I would disagree that you shouldn't have. I think you should have. There's nothing at all wrong with children watching horror movies. He says, The Running Man movie is what first brought me to Stephen King to my attention. When I was a little bit older, I read Carrie, and I thought it was fine, but the movie was better. But when I read The Stand, I was hooked. And he has that in all caps. He says, you don't need me to praise the book. Everyone knows how good it is. The Stand was my first introduction to RF, which of course is our hero of the story, Randall Flagg. And he says Randall Flagg has to be King's most fascinating character, maybe one of literature's all-time most fascinating characters. I truly wish there were more King stories with Randall Flagg in them. And he says in parentheses, hint, hint, Joe Hill and Owen King. He says, sorry, Peter, good guys are boring. It's the characters that live in that gray area that are interesting. And then he says, interesting, The Man with No Name, Loki, John Wick, Julius Caesar, Roland, Don Corleone. He says boring. He says boring, and he says in parentheses, not because they are doing the right thing, and not that doing the right thing is wrong, but that you know that they will always do the right thing, hence they're boring. Luke Skywalker, Harry Potter, Optimus Prime, Captain America, and Gandalf. And I mean, the thing is, what I love about that too, as a Star Wars nerd, Lucas would love that he said that, because like the whole premise here of like interesting versus not is like why back in the 60s like anti-heroes were like the biggest thing. Like everyone wanted to make movies like, you know, Rebel Without a Cause. Every movie that was coming out was like late 60s and even in the early 70s, it was all about anti-heroes. And that was
isn't that when the A-Team was really popular?
I don't,
was that right
know.
at the tail end?
But even also, you're talking the 70s. You got The Godfather in 72 and 74.
Well, if we're in the 70s, then for sure the A-Team, which is the misfits that are, you know, you got the Dukes of Hazzard and shit like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of anti-heroes. So I just love they list Luke, because literally Lucas's thing with Star Wars was, I hate that anti-heroes are everywhere. I want to just make a classic fairy tale, which means white hats and black hats, which means pure good versus pure evil. So I just love that Luke showed up on that top of that list, because that's exactly what Lucas wanted.
That's like, exactly what Luke Skywalker should be.
That's exactly. So, but I get where he's saying, like there, and like, and it's funny because it's cyclical too, because now we're back in a time like, or in the early, like right in the turn of the century, you had the Sopranos, you know, then you move into like the golden age of television's built on anti-heroes. Walter White, I mean, Don Draper, like all these characters that are some of the most definitive characters of this era of like the greatest television potentially of all time. They're all anti-heroes. So it's kind of cyclical, because I think Lucas kind of spurred a bunch of like true blue white hat good guys again after Star Wars, but then now it's kind of cycling back to like where we were in the late 60s, early 70s, where now anti-heroes are all over the place. Like, so it's cyclical, but I just love that list. And then he says when King describes his readers as constant readers, I think part of him, the part that writes his darkest stories and maybe his true self, is secretly referring to his readers as his dark acolytes, and I count myself as one, and that is due to The Stand. Yeah, I mean, do you have any response to the, like his he aimed at you just probably because you're such an anti-flag?
You could call them interesting, you can call them entertaining. I don't disagree with that. They're still bad guys.
Well,
that's not going to change my mind.
Certainly
on that.
Gray, you know, right? Because the ones he mentioned in terms of interesting, Man with No Name's not a villain. Loki probably not a villain. John Wick certainly not a villain. Julius Caesar depends on what year you're talking about. Roland depends on what part of the books you're talking about. Don Corleone, yeah, it's yeah. But no, I agree. And actually, I can't remember, someone online somewhere at some point recently was like, they would love to see a short story book for King where it's just all flag stories. And it's just different, but different things, right? Like it'd be a normal short story where there's really no connection to them, except that Randall Flagg's the central character of them all, because he's such a chameleon that he could easily do that, right? You'd read him in one short story, he'd be doing this. The next short story, it's the same character, but he's doing something completely different in a different world, whatever. And it would just be all these different, like the different hijinks of Flagg. And it's like he's probably one of the few characters that could literally be a short story, and everyone would be different, but it's the same guy. Like, yeah, maybe Roland, you can get like a three novella thing, and it's just like, okay, here's Tull, and then here's falling in love, and then here's what, like, maybe, but that would be a shorter one, like If It Bleeds, like 4 stories. Okay, maybe Roland could do that.
Mike wants that. He says please in the chat for the the Flagg short stories.
And dude, just do like the Metallica thing. Just the cover's just pure black. Stephen King, just like the Black Album, Man in Black. It'd be great. Yeah. So yes, that was his notes there for The Stand, which I agree too. I do think that Stand is his far and away Flagg's biggest thing. I mean, he's got his place in the Dark Tower, but like The Stand's his main event, right? Like that's like if you're a Flagg fan, like if he was a movie character, that's the movie that he's the main, probably the biggest main character. Like
he's top billed there.
Yeah, exactly, top billed. Good wording there. Then Kat has the Dark Tower. Robert has the Institute. And then, which again we know, Robert mentioned in the chat that he was thinking it was adaptations, but still, Institute. Like I think we both. The thing is like, I wouldn't say I'm never going to reread the Institute. It would just be a while because of how much, because we read it twice so quickly. But I think that tells its quality though, because if it were a lesser book and we had to read it like twice in a couple months, if it was a lesser book, I'd probably never read it again.
Yeah.
But the fact is, at some point, 5-10 years, who knows, I'll probably reread the Institute.
Same. Yeah.
which tells its quality. And then Justin has The Stand. So it's interesting. Certain ones are coming up fairly regularly. And then moving on here, we've already kind of given away ours. But number one, The Stand for me, Dark Tower for you. Yeah. And then I also got to mention, who was it here? It was right before the in the chat. Somebody said, Agamorphy says towers, not chess. And I have to correct him and say castles. Isn't it castles in Dark Tower? I think that's what he meant, but because we were saying that it was like chess. Because I 100% agree. I was like thinking to myself, what's Peter going to do? And I wondered if you thought the same thing or were wondering what I was going to do.
I honestly wondered which one was going to be number one, whether it was going to be The Stand or the Dark Tower. I knew it was going to be one of those two, but
yeah. And likewise, I knew Dark Tower and It were going to be like if those two weren't 1 and 2 for you, I would have been absolutely like jaw on the floor shocked.
Yeah, same.
Like if one of those two were at like the number 3 or 4 spot, I would have been fucking stunned. Certainly. So yeah, I don't know if there's a lot to say. I guess like I said, The Stand. The only thing I think I did already say it though was that I think that is really the first true love for Stephen King. I read some other stuff earlier, but I think The Stand is the first one that captured me in a way that Dark Tower would eventually capture me. And some other books have captured me in different ways. But I think The Stand was the first one that grabbed me by the nose and just like,
has not let go still.
Yeah, like if I had a constant reader tattoo, it would have been put on after reading The Stand. Like, and whereas I read others before that. So that's a big part of potentially why too. It might even be why I'm so maybe glossing over some of those harder scenes. And like I like with It, I was like, oh, there's certain scenes that are just so hard for me to read. But then like you could argue there's the same things in The Stand, but for some reason they don't affect me as much. I don't know, and maybe it is why. It's just like the almost nostalgia of the fact of that being the first thing that really dragged me into this universe of Stephen King. Anything you wanted to say on Dark Tower? I mean, that's where we're here, right? Is Dark Tower Palaver like?
It's the reason you're looking at me right now and listening to me, whichever media you're in, is the Dark Tower. It's the one that I've read the most, even though it is 7/8 books.
Yeah,
I've still read it more than any of the others. That does include It.
Yeah,
I find myself coming back to the Dark Tower over and over again. A little bit less ever since we started the book clubs because I want to leave my fresh perspective for the book clubs.
Yeah.
But even since we started the book clubs, I couldn't resist the pull of the Tower. I reread it while we were doing Drawing of the Three.
Yeah.
I remember when I passed where we were and I'm like taking notes down. You can go back and listen to the episode. I think it's between doors 1 and 2 where Eddie's sick, Roland's sick. They're both going through their shit where you can see all of a sudden Peter has a lot more notes. It's because I was rereading the series then on my own. I couldn't resist the pull once I hit Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie is the greatest character King has ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Eddie Dean is by far the most flawed, great, starts one way and goes completely to the other side.
That goes to Mike's thing where he's saying interesting versus non-interesting. I think he would fit into the interesting
Eddie
side, right? Because he's more of an anti-hero. Like he's a drug dealer smuggling drugs to start. Like he's, he's...
Hey, mule. He's not the dealer. He's a mule. All right? Let's not mislabel him.
Only because of lack of imagination.
Hey, let's not be the U.S. government and be all war on drugs thing and everything like that here. He's a mule. He'd be arrested for possession with intent to distribute.
Yeah.
But he is not the drug dealer. People would not come to Eddie to buy drugs. All right? All right?
You don't think that he'd get stupid enough after if everything went to plan and he had traded and got a large sum of, heroin. You don't think that he'd maybe sell on the side, then get in trouble? He and Henry both get in trouble by Balazar for then dealing when he doesn't, quote unquote, have the permission. I don't know. I think both the Dean brothers would end up finding themselves in that situation if they didn't overdose first.
No, I think they would keep it for themselves being, oh man, I swallowed wrong.
Peter is dying. Getting some tube neck going here.
No, I literally just swallowed down the wrong tube and you just have to cough it out.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm like Bill trying to get out going through a stuttering fit.
Yeah.
Great. Exactly. Eddie is so great and interesting is what Mike put. And the thing for me is that it's not just Eddie, though. Like, you go through the Dark Tower, there are so many great characters. You get to see Father Callahan come back into it.
and more, right? Like
And more.
reading Salem's Lot after being really ingrained in the Dark Tower, you realize like Callahan's not that big a part of the Salem's Lot.
No, he's
book.
not. Every
Like,
time I go back and reread Salem's Lot, it's like, fuck, Callahan's in this for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. He's basically
it.
he's basically like a cameo.
Yeah.
Like and yeah. So
It's also featuring
Yeah.
Father Callahan right at the end of the credits of the opening.
if he even gets credits, or
if he even gets that, it's one of those ones where it's like the TV show at the end of it. It's like it goes to the black screen. It goes special guest star.
Yeah.
Michael Father Callahan.
pretty much,
But
which
but
is a
for
bummer.
But for me, there's a reason that Dark Tower has played such a huge part of my life. I don't have a tattoo, but I am 100% convinced the first tattoo I will get will be the Ka symbol.
Yeah.
That's from this series. That's not from it. That's not from The Stand.
Yeah.
As much as I love King, it is going to be the Ka symbol. It's just the KA for the Ka symbol. Someone has it as their freaking profile picture here in the chat. I don't know if they're here today, but someone does. And that's the reason I went with the turtle for my profile picture, so that we didn't get confused between the pictures.
Yeah.
But if I could have, I would do the Ka symbol. I've had
Yeah.
it as the background on my phone. I've had it as the background on my computers.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Dark Tower is the reason that me and you are here right now
Yeah.
on this podcast.
Like, yeah, there was a few choices, but this is the one that we ended up executing on ultimately. So, and yeah, that does speak a lot to it. Like, yeah, definitely a lot to be said, and not a surprise to see it high for you as well as some others here as we get into. We've seen it all over this list, as you mentioned. But yeah, then jumping over to the extended quartet, we've got Chris has the Dark Tower. John from Buffalo is 11/22/63, which is the highest that we've seen that one so far. And honestly, good on you, man. I
surprising.
could totally see it. I could totally see it. It's a freaking great
Not
book.
a single one of these surprises me.
Aaron has The Green Mile, and he says, I saw the movie first and loved it. I doubted that the book was going to be as good, but was proven wrong. The adaptation was so well done, I could visualize the movie as I read the book, and I love the theme of faith and magic where you wouldn't expect it. To me, this book proves that King is far beyond the master of horror that everyone seems to think of him. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly probably the one you'd go to,
Yep.
right? Is if someone were questioning you on, I don't like horror, I don't want to read Stephen King. Well, Green Mile is probably the first one out of your mouth when you're having that conversation.
11/22/63 for me.
Well, I mean, in terms of like your average person that has probably seen the movie, potentially, like, you might say Shawshank, or you might say The Body, or, Stand By Me. But like, I'm guessing Green Mile is probably the very high on the list for most people in those conversations.
Yeah, it's up there.
Then Steve has It. Again, I don't know that
He's been given lots of reasons here in the chat, and we've been reading them.
Yeah.
We're talking about how effortlessly he can
Yeah.
pick up It and just jump into a scene
Yeah.
and instantly be pulled in. And
Yeah.
and again, it's my number 2. There's
Yeah.
a reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think there's any surprises at number 1 anywhere. Hans has the Dark Tower, and he says for obvious reasons, and he says, see my email address, and I'm not going to give it out, but it was Roland was
A part of it.
yeah, was one of his portions of his email address there. And then Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania has Dark Tower as well. Let me go over to his thing here. He says, Dark Tower Saga. He says, duh. I had trouble with the Gunslinger the first time I read it. I didn't finish it, but Ka made me try again. By the time we got around to the second door, I'm dreading things like work, sleep, and dealing with other people. We've all been there.
Yep.
The Drawing of the Three is my favorite book. I got lucky. I didn't start The Dark Tower until after it was published. Roland is a linchpin that holds the entire 4,316 pages together. He is both simple and amazingly deep. He takes you on a roller coaster ride, and then in parentheses, and a train ride, which is true.
Choo-choo.
And he says, imagine full bore rooting for the guy who, or then he gives some lists here, shot his mother, dropped a kid into an abyss to catch up with the first protagonist of the story, which is interesting to say the first, because it's like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. Eliminated everyone in Tull and not feeling bad about it. I love that word eliminated too. That's a good one. What is the phrasing in Firestarter? Sanctioned?
Yeah.
I love that. I'm like, sanctioned. I'm like, that's a fun one. Crippled his teacher, which, you know what? That's actually one that we've never really discussed in terms of morality, but nobody else cripples, the teacher when they've passed their test. But Roland put him in bed for months, and messed up his face. Yeah, just overall, like, Roland passed his test in a more brutal way than most people. So, and we've never really equated that into his.
Do you remember the descriptions of what Court looks like?
Well, yeah, but
He walks with a permanent limp before Roland.
Yeah, but
I mean, that came from someone.
I don't know.
No. We're not pinning this on Roland and saying, "Oh, he's more brutal than any others," when we have no evidence to support that. We have no other gunslinger trials proving that.
I don't know that Court's going to do any more after that.
We don't know. True, but Court's dad was the same way until a gunslinger got the best of him. Like,
I don't know, man.
I cannot say that Roland is the most brutal ever when he's the only one we see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the fact that like the way they talk about him not being around, and like women go into his hut to like help him and stuff. Like it just I don't think that's normal. It's one of those things like
we don't know.
That's so extreme. There's no way that's normal, or there would have to be like 1,000 teachers, because then they'd have to have like a year off after each trial as they recuperate.
Roland wasn't even supposed to have his trial for another 3 years?
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? There is no trials after that. None of his commates are supposed to be.
Well, no, I'm just saying in general, like as time goes, like how many people, like you'd have to have like 100 teachers, because like you'd have to have like substitutes to roll in after
how many
guys.
Gunslingers are there, or apprentices, or in training?
I would say it's a lot lower in Roland. I've always got the sense that like if you went back a few generations, they're way more ample. I think because you're on kind of that downhill slide.
Yeah.
That I think that like. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to equate it, but I've always felt that like what Roland was seeing wasn't necessarily the norm that his 5 times great grandfather would have seen. It would have been different, just because things as it wears away, as the world is slowly moving on.
Mike says, "Please, Court was given a gold watch after he woke up 3 months later." Hey, you don't know that's not what Stephen Deshane did to him too.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that is, I think that's a good point. We never really brought up. He says then another one he gives is didn't really want to help the people of the Kala, and I don't know. Is that something that you've always felt was part of the game, or did you think he genuinely wanted to maybe just move on? Like he knew that once they were asked, that he had to like engage them as like that's the way. But like, I guess like in his heart of hearts, where it's like, God, can we just get through this without getting pulled into something? Or
that was Eddie. Not Roland. Roland's like, no, this is our duty. Like, we have to do this. Eddie's the one that's like, dude, we gotta go. Like, we got stuff we gotta do. And Roland's like, no, we're needed here. I don't remember it that way. And Wolves of the Call is my favorite book. So if I'm wrong, point it out to me. But Roland was telling. I remember a scene with him and Eddie where he's like, no, we gotta stay.
Yeah, no, I remember that. But that's like the duty bound side. I just wonder if there's like an element that I'm not coming to my mind right away, that like maybe is like a thing where it's like you get the sense that Roland is like, he knows that like they're going to have to help if it engages a certain way, but then maybe he's hoping for it the other way, that maybe they don't engage and they're just like watching from the distance and they are able to just tally-ho their way without getting pulled into shit.
I don't think Roland worries about that. I think Roland is, hey, there'll be water if Ka wills it, you know?
Yeah.
If Gan wills it, you know? Roland's like a duck. The water just rolls off his back. He rolls with the punches, and I think that he realizes that Ka is a wheel, and that if they're meant to help, they're meant to help for a reason. I never get the impression that he's like, Ka, fine, we'll help you. I never get that impression from Roland.
All right, yeah, it's but yeah, ultimately, certainly a list here that Roland is certainly not one you expect to being the hero. Then it says, obviously, I'm preaching to the choir on this, and I'll let you two hash it out. The one real downside of the Dark Tower is probably that King wrote himself into it. It works. It's an interesting twist, and I like it. But will it hold up 30 years from now when Stephen King is a historical person to a new reader instead of a real guy who has been ruining Maine's tourism for some time? And
ruining Maine's tourism.
I would say he's creating their tourism for the most part. But I would say, I think long term it's actually going to withstand, because everything that you and I have access to now, they're going to have access to 100 years from now, right? Like all the interviews with Stephen King, all the YouTube videos, all the, like, if there's somebody 100 years from now is not going to know King any less than you or I would, because we don't know him, we don't live down the street from him and, you know him as a person. So like, he's as abstract to us as he will be to someone 100 years from now. So I personally, I don't see that being, in fact, I think that actually might still be just as interesting to someone in the future, because that will set him apart from like an Edgar Allan Poe or whoever else that, like, oh my God, dude, this guy wrote himself into this. Like, and I think it'll be just as batshit 100 years from now as it is now. So
Yeah.
I agree that with him here that I love it. But yeah, I don't have any question that it'll hold and it'll be great down the road.
Yeah.
He says, Ka is a wheel. What no one will tell you is that Ka is a mill wheel and we're the grain. And then he signs off, Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania. He says, P.S. I had a hell of a time finding the challenges. Maybe put them in a separate link on the site. And yeah, that's actually what I alluded to earlier, is because I never really put the coming challenges or the open challenges. That those are in the show notes for when they originally got thrown out, I think, but I've never really like set them aside in any way that where you can find them easily. So yeah, based on that recommendation, I added it. So now there is a thing on there for open challenges. You can click on that and I will keep it updated. And yeah, you'll be able to find that. So thank you for that idea, because I'd never even considered that, to be honest. So now, because I'm a nerd, we're finished.
We're going to get some stats?
Yes.
Yeah.
As I'll say, I knew you'd love it.
Yeah.
Because you're all about stats. Yes. So now for some stats.
Before we jump to the stats, Mike says in the chat, because we were talking about his response to the Dark Tower and Roland and everything. Roland is a tower junkie. The Kala is an unwanted rehab stop. I mean, I just don't see that. Show me where in the Wolves of the Kala that he's like, oh God, we have to do this. It's Eddie that's like that. You see him using the people of the Kala to an end, yes, because he's even talking with who was it, Hendricks, the leader of the Manny, about getting back to New York. He's using them,
yeah,
to get to the tower, to save the tower, and do everything that he has to do. I just don't see it. I don't see him being like, no, like this is God, this is such a burden that I have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just inserting that into him a little bit, but yeah, I wasn't. That didn't knee jerk me into a way of disagreeing, but maybe it's just something that I'm reading into it that isn't there. But I don't know. Next time I read it, I'll have to be more mindful to look at there. Okay, so stats wise, so the first slide is one that basically it tallied up how many times each title showed up on the list anywhere.
Okay.
So
just number of entries.
Yes, number of entries. So I will go ahead and pull this slide up here. And then as the changes on your guys' screen, as there's a little bit of a delay. So number 1, Dark Tower with 10 entries. And then it is second with 7 of them. 11/22/63 has 6. The Stand has 5. The Shining 3. The Doohickey, The Long Walk, The Green Mile, Salem's Lot are all tied with 2. And then the rest are solo entries. So kind of a fun little breakdown. I wanted to just get like an overall total and see because yeah, like we mentioned, there's certain the ones that just repeated a lot. Well, there's the most repeats, and not a surprise for a Dark Tower show.
I'm making the video bigger on my laptop, so I can't see the chat for a second. So
okay,
for me.
Yeah. That's and then Agmorphy says, seriously, Stephen King makes history of himself inside the saga. It will hold. Yeah, I think it will long term.
It's gonna be interesting because that's a valid point.
I almost wonder if it's actually less good now because Stephen King is kind of a pop cultural icon a little bit. Like,
yeah,
he's in the know. Like, I could tell you going through the emails, like every time he tweets, dude, there's people writing articles about, oh, Stephen King just said this and stuff. So it's like he's kind of a whole cottage industry, and he's something that he's everywhere, right? And he's pissed some people off because he even started talking about politics for a bit. He's all over the place. So I think that we may appreciate him less now than somebody in 100 years, will look at him the way that we look at Edgar Allan Poe. And I think then almost the novelty of him inserting himself will almost be more special, maybe be more special because, yeah, for them now he's less of a commodity in their daily lives, unless they're jumping into the history of YouTube and going back to videos from 100 years ago and watching Stephen King interviews. Who knows? But yeah, I think it'll hold personally. But so what do you think? Slide number 1. Any thoughts you want? You were saying you were maximizing it there.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the Stand is below.
Me too, actually.
11/22/63. That kind of surprises me with how much everyone. It always seems like, oh, what's the top 3 Stephen King books? The Stand, The Shining.
Yeah.
Is usually like the 3 that I go. If someone came to me and said, people that have
Like
commented on your show.
was it Family Feud or whatever,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stupid show? Or,
We asked 100 people what's the top 6 answers.
yeah,
I would be saying The Stand, The Shining, and It.
yeah,
So to see 11/22/63 not only above The Shining, but also above The Stand as well.
yeah. That's crazy.
Kind of surprising, but also 11/22/63 made my list. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was actually surprised. Like maybe as a Stand fanatic, I was hoping that like maybe a little bit of a competition between you and I. Like, man, Stand will beat It. Like, there's no way it won't. Like, it's a Stand. And it lost. Not only did It, but also by 11/22/63.
yeah.
So the second slide. So this is a leaderboard for each number. So which one had the most picks at number 1, number 2, etc. So basically breaking down how many does each one show up at the level of numbers. That makes sense. So that is Dark Tower hits number 1 4 times total. So 4 people had Dark Tower at number 1. It and Dark Tower tied with 3 appearances at number 2. So as we mentioned, Dark Tower's all over the place. Then The Shining and The Long Walk both had 2 entries at number 3. 11/22/63 and It tied for number 4 with 2 appearances. And then there are no duplicates on number 5.
Oh.
Every single one of us had different entries for our 5th slot.
That's because
So
the 5th one is almost the hardest one.
it really
because
is.
It's like with us, it's like, okay, which one's going to be number 1, which one's going to be number 2.
Yeah.
But with number 5, it's okay. I have these 4 books that are going to go on here, and then I have these other 8 or 9 books
that I need to get on that one slot.
That are, one of them is going to fit that slot. So
Yeah.
which one? Well, what's that 5th one going to be?
Yeah, exactly. And then so no duplicates there. And then the last one I had to do was quantifying them. So with the grade of each one and weighing the totals. So for instance, if they are number 1, they got 5 points. Number 4,
Oh, good, you did it.
yes, so 4 points for number 2, and so on, down to where the number 5 slot only got them 1 point.
Yeah.
So. Yes, if that makes sense to everyone, hopefully. I know you get it. But
I get it.
Hopefully everyone else gets it. Basically, just take the numbers, reverse them, and that's the point. So
Every time a book is in slot number 1 for someone, it gets 5 points. If it's in slot number 2, like the second best, it would get 4 points, 3,
Yeah.
so on. And then you just take all the points for all the
Total
entries and total it,
Yeah.
and you get this result.
Yeah. So here's our overall leaderboard. Dark Tower is in the lead by a mid-world wheel with a total of 39 points. Not a
See,
surprise.
now look at the Stand though. See, that's 11/22/63 had more
entries.
but the Stand had higher.
Yeah. And then so in second place is It with 22 points. The Stand is in third with 20 points. 11/22/63 is in fourth place with 18 points, and The Shining rounds out number 5 with 8 points. Then you can kind of see how the rest of it breaks down there. That's why I like that kind of thing where you quantify it a bit, where it's just like give it a little bit more credit if it shows up at number 1, because that means that someone's like, here's the crown and I'm putting it on this book for me. So I thought that would be fun. So
it's one of the things that hockey does with their votes. I don't know if more other sports do it. I know for a fact
some people do that
hockey
with
does it.
voting.
No,
basically,
that's what
right?
they do with the trophies that they give out, because they give out a ton of like awards in hockey,
like MVPs and stuff. Yeah.
But it's like there's also like one of them is like offensive defenseman and defensive defenseman. There's 2 different defenseman awards simply, and they go off of how many first place votes did they get, how many second place votes, how many third place votes, and everything. So it's always good to do that,
It's
because
worth doing. Yeah.
the reason why is exactly what you see here in the results with the Stand, is because the Stand had less than 11/22/63, but scores higher when you look at the overall ranking.
Yeah, with
where people put it.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me, because then when I'm looking at this overall, it's like let's see, one person had it at number 1. And then we had a bunch of people with it at number 2, so that's going to weigh its total up, that kind of thing. So kind of cool, good way to kind of average what we all had there. So
wait, 2 people had on. Oh no, that's 2 points for on writing, because she had it at her 4th spot.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
right.
Yes.
So that's the stats. So I know we're running close to the 3-hour mark, but I want to do an email because I mentioned it earlier. Had a little bit of a snafu on our email.
What's going
so let's
on?
go ahead and first of all.
Oh, come on. emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
You know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
I will not let have our listeners go without. Because every time I miss it, someone comments. I get something on Twitter or something on Facebook or even an email where it's like, what the hell? Where's the email jingle? You know? Just like a lot of times I'm editing, I'll throw a little oi at the end of the show.
Just cause.
I just did it just cause at one point fucking years ago now. And then at one point I just stopped because I was just like, oh, whatever. It was a fun little thing. And dude, I got people emailing, tweeting me and stuff for like, what happened to the oi things?
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know anyone really cared that much. But so with the email, I want to mention this. So we got, I guess I can move over to Allie's Doom here. So let me also pull us up to.
Mike says it never gets old.
Okay, let me go to this here as we go over to. So we got Andy from Ohio. I think the screen should be changed up and stuff.
Yep.
And Chris from Australia here. Everybody cares about Oi except Dad. Hey, none of that slander here. None of that slander. Oh man, I like Oi. All I'm saying, it was just early on before I realized that he would be important. You know, it just seemed like he was. People's lives are being risked for no reason.
That is where this shirt came from. That is why this shirt exists, is
No,
because of that.
That shirt came from TeePublic. So, Andy here, she sent an email. Oh, I don't even remember. I should have taken it down. But I want to say it was like November of 2019.
Oh, geez.
So what happened is, I don't know if you have Gmail. There was one point when they refreshed the inboxes and they had these stupid fucking tabs at the top that would say like promotional, social, and whatever. And it's filters, but like it wasn't filters that you create yourself. They just did it on their own. And I guess I should have known that something happened because didn't even realize that probably for a couple of years now, I haven't seen any social media posts because they get filtered into that like social thing. It's like all my things where it's like, hey, someone on Twitter commented on your thing or somebody did this, like all those things are being filtered. Well, somehow there was a couple emails that actually got caught in the promotional one, and most of the promotional ones were like garbage, like, oh, hey, please take your podcast over to this thing and we'll guarantee you these. Like, it's just spam basically, and people trying to sell me like shit.
Do they still do it?
Yeah. I mean, that's so basically what I did is I accidentally clicked over on accident to the social one. I'm like, holy shit, I had like 500 unread social media things. So I just went through and deleted them all. And then when I went through the promotional ones, I was just kind of eyeballing them a little bit as I was deleting shit. And suddenly I saw a couple of them that were like, hey, that looks like a real email. And I opened it. I'm like, holy shit, it is. But the problem with those filters is they miss your inbox. So they don't show in your inbox. They go straight to those folders. So somehow Andy, as well as a couple others, I think at least one other, got caught in those. So like literally I've not seen these emails until yesterday, even though it was sent in November of 2019. So I responded to her. Hopefully if she still has that email address, she'll have seen it. If not, hopefully she's a listener and doesn't think that we were snubbing her with the emails. So I at least want to read her email before we close up shop here. She says, first, got to shout out the love for Stephen King in general, Dark Tower in particular, and your podcast, which keeps me in that other world. Listening to you is like finding the door standing on the beach, and I look forward to opening it with every episode. Thanks for drawing me through. And you're welcome. I love the nomenclature, certainly. Thank you, Andy. And she says, I have a longer, and then in parentheses, much longer, email to write at some point to address all the questions you pose about the series and the characters. But briefly, I'd like to know what book list you are using for your Stephen King Master Library read-through. And I think around this time was when I was basically trying to commit to reading all of King's books, which I'm still kind of on the train of doing. And she said, I'm looking for a solid bibliography because although I've read most of his works, I know I've likely missed a few over the years. Thanks in advance for pointing this maggot along the correct beam. So we have our extended quartet list. And I believe I thought I was, after I read this email, I started looking. I thought I pulled it from King's website, but I think I may have even pulled it from Wikipedia, primarily because on King's, unless he's changed it recently, since I've copied this list, because on there now, like, it doesn't just show each book, but it shows versions of the book.
Oh.
So there's like some special edition of Carrie that came out in 2007 or whatever bullshit. So that list as well as Carrie, and like, I don't want that. I just want a list of the books, not like
just individual.
Yeah, not like every. I don't need to see the stand and then the stand uncut. I just need to see the stand. And King's is like showing everything. So I either he's changed that in the last couple of years, and I got this list before he did that, or I pulled it from Wikipedia, one of the two. But I do know there's a whole thing about his entire bibliography. His website's pretty extensive, but I believe I've seen some stuff come across my email that I didn't really cover for the show, where there's people that are digging into the idea of even the shit that he lists isn't complete. That there's different writings that he's done, whether it's even just short things here and there, that almost it's like an archaeological thing where people are still trying to, like, it's not a solid thing to say like there is a definitive list of everything King's written. I don't think that exists.
Yeah.
There's people that are making that their kind of their
mission
to like find whatever. Plus there's also like the legendary letters, Christmas things he'd send with like short stories to people on his Christmas list. Those are some of the most sought after things, kind of up there with like the asbestos fire starter, the asbestos covered fire starter.
Yeah.
There's certain things that like whatever. So apparently there's no definitive, but I would say his website is pretty damn in depth, too in depth even for us. The list we're going off of is just very basic. But if you want something deeper, I would go to his list on his website. Has a lot.
Chris makes a suggestion in the chat about this.
Let's see. What did I miss with Agamorphy here?
We don't want
seeing
you to
Peter's
talk
look at
about
disgust now makes it twice as fun. Chris, I know, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's half the reason for the cameras. You know, nothing fun in that. Chris Bryant Burnett on Twitter, blogging at the Truth Behind the Lie, has created an amazingly complete list of King's written works, and maybe that's the one. At some point, there was something I saw as I was prepping a show, and I didn't do it for the show because it was cool, but it was like it was very esoteric, and I wasn't sure if it was as, I don't know, whatever. Maybe it wasn't even written. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember there being a thing where it's like, yeah, there's people that are like going out of their way to find as much as they can.
Yeah.
So maybe there isn't the definitive list, but it sounds like that's a great place to look. As well as, like I said, his website is pretty almost too detailed, and there's all kinds of different tabs. You can click like novels and novellas, or you can click like all works or like short stories. Like there's different tiers of what you can pull up on his website too. So if you want to really be a completionist, like, one, Godspeed to you, because that's going to be a tough.
There's
tough
some
thing.
that you can't find.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. But then on top of that, yeah, there's just a lot of lists. Then Chris says, yep, that's the one, Tad. You jumped into the discussion for. Okay, so maybe that's what it was. It wasn't that. It was that it came up on Twitter, which would make way more sense why it didn't come on the show, because a lot of times I forget shit that happens on Twitter.
What happens on Twitter stays on Twitter?
Yeah, I really try to remember, and try to bring especially good stuff that I find on Twitter to the show. But I can't say that I'm always successful at that. But that's the list that I have, that I was in 2019 when I was like, I'm going to do my master list and go through all of his works. I was mostly thinking his proper works, like the whatever. I'm not going to, at least not at first. I'm not going to dive in and go, I want to find everything. I'm just going to go, let me hit the main things first. And then maybe after I finish all those, maybe at that point I'll start doing like an extended list to find like short stories and stuff that have never been published in books that are maybe only in magazines and God knows what. So there's a lot out there. Is a long way of saying that's a hard question to answer, but I would say definitely. So Brian Burnett on Twitter sounds like is a great place to go, as well as StephenKing.com has a pretty extensive list. Then she says, keep up the excellent work, friends. Sending love from Ohio. Long days and pleasant nights. And then she says, P.S. Hashtag Tad is terrible, but I reckon that we'll keep him. And then she gives a smiley emoji. So, and then PPS, Eddie Dean is definitely Larry Underwood. And so I remember we had that conversation.
Yep.
Smart asses with heart, who speak before they think, very little filter, bark on the outside to protect how soft and sweet they are on the inside, childlike optimism tempered with snarky cynicism, content to live way below their potential until challenged to rise. Yep, them's the same. And what girl doesn't want to tame a bad boy? Oops, I think I'm in love. Sigh. So that's a great breakdown on Eddie and Larry. By the way,
Yeah.
that's great. So thank you. Hopefully you're still listening. Hopefully you didn't get all mad and quit listening because you
I
thought
really
we were
hope
snubbed.
not.
Yeah, I hope not. Because she also mentions another email, and I haven't seen another email. So hopefully she's still listening, and there's no hard feelings. Because like I said, that's 100% Google. I mean, it's on me. I probably should have been looking. Like I said, I think when I went to the
I've
social
never heard of these tabs before.
when I went to the social media one, dude, there was like 500 emails I had to delete from YouTube, from Facebook, from
Good
Twitter,
Lord.
because they just give you all these notifications. I mean, Facebook, we've got a group, so I get different emails for that too.
Yeah.
So like it was 500 emails. I'm like, good God, man, and they're all unread, but none of them went to my inbox. So thank God, because that would have been tough to go through. But yes, somehow 2 real human beings that were actually just sending normal emails and not trying to sell me some stupid freaking magic beans for podcasting got caught in the promotional one. Don't know how that happened. So apologies about that. Cry your pardon. And yeah, so there will be another one we'll cover in the future when it comes to another one of those that got caught into the North Central Positronics guts. But yeah, that's wanted to cover that for this episode. So
Well, I'm glad that you found that. I had
Yeah.
no idea that those tabs. I need to go look at mine.
yeah, and then there's like ways you can actually turn it off or turn to a different way, because I think that's what actually ended up happening was there's a way you can change it to only show you unread first, because like sometimes I'll read certain ones, but like these lists, for instance, I'll leave them unread because I want to make sure they're easy to find when I need to use them. So I could turn it to unread only, and suddenly it was just like filled with all this shit, like social media things and stuff. I was like, what the hell? So I turned that off, and I'm like, oh, those things at the top, and I started looking through them, and yeah, that's how I discovered it. So if you have Gmail, be mindful of those.
Do
things.
some digging.
Yeah, so apologies to the couple people that got caught up in that. But yeah, that is going to be it for this show. I wanted to hit the calendar real quick. So next time we're going to be talking in a fortnight from now about top 10 Stephen King kids. If you want to be part of that conversation,
Yeah.
same thing. Shoot those emails over to us. If you want to add comments,
Is that the next episode, right?
Yes, next
Yeah,
episode.
next
If you want to
episode.
do comments, do it. But just be mindful. If everyone does too many comments, we probably won't be able to cover them all. So just do it or maybe even only do certain comments on certain ones, or keep it brief, maybe. Or I don't know. If everyone sent long comments, maybe that's all we'll do next episode. Who knows? So yes, do whatever, but send those in. I'll do some social media blasts to remind everyone as well. But that's coming in a fortnight. And then we'll have another episode 3 weeks after that for Roundtable 110 on August 21st. So that's what's coming up here in the future. Yeah, let me go ahead and hit the closing information. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. You can find our open challenges, which is where you can find the top 10 kid thing. I have all the rules and stuff listed there. And going forward, open challenges that happen, I'll make sure to keep that updated, and there's a little tab for it, as well as the new questions if you're a new listener. If you want to become a patron, do that over at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver, and find our merchandise on our website. There's a link for that over at TeePublic to get some of these awesome shirts. I don't have a hashtag Tad is a good guy yet, but I'm gotta workshop that, find something there that, Tad is innocent, something. I don't know. What was the Darth Vader one? Vader did nothing wrong or something. I got to do something like that. Or Magneto did nothing wrong. And then I got to do that. Tad did nothing wrong or something. But yeah, so find all that over there at our website to link you over to our TeePublic. Then if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know how to do that.
Best way to reach us is like Andy with her email that Tad ignored for 2 years. darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We stream all of our shows live at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Come join the conversation when we're live. Like the videos, subscribe. Make sure to ring the bell to get notifications for when we're going live. Especially watch YouTube in the upcoming weeks, months for new content.
Yeah.
We're expanding out our YouTube with more stuff. Then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word. And then Tad mentioned our merch. tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver.
Yes, indeed. So we will see you in a fortnight and talking about top 10 Stephen King kids. I'm really excited for that conversation too, because that's going to be like, this one was tough because there's not a lot of spaces. Top 10 King kids is going to be tough too, for the same reason. 10's not a lot for as many great kids as he's written. So that's going to be really fun to talk about. And there's a lot of great kids that I can't wait to discuss. And now I've read Firestarter, so Charlie may not have made my list because I have not read the book. So now that I have, that will add that into it. So looking forward.
Love Charlie.
Looking forward to that, and we will see you guys in a fortnight. As we'll sign off as we always do by saying, "Long days and pleasant nights."
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone on the YouTube, thank you guys for joining us. It was fun to have you guys talking along with us here, especially you guys that emailed in as well, to be able to have real-time discussions on your guys' lists. Chris, hopefully, I think you tweeted something about not knowing, like looking forward to seeing what your own list was because you sent an email a while ago. So, yeah, but I agree with you. If we did this in a month from now, it'd be somewhat different for me, I bet.
Robert,
So.
if you get a chance, remake your list with knowing the change to it and everything, and we'll go through it real fast.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you guys for joining us. Be back in a fortnight for a live show. The newer stuff that we're going to be working on for YouTube won't be live streamed. But yeah, keep your eyes on your feeds over the next, I don't even know how long, but because we want to start doing some stuff that's maybe a little bit more like quote unquote YouTube accessible, not like full podcasts, but we've kind of teased it a little bit on the show already. So I think some of the stuff we've already talked about, like we've already talked about doing like trailer reactions and stuff. So we just want to do some stuff that maybe might draw some people in through the YouTube side. And if someone's more of a YouTube junkie that wants a little 2 to 5 minute video of whatever, like they watch that, if then that drags them into the extended content, then so be it. So we will see you guys live in a couple weeks, and keep your eye on the stream. See you guys.
Bye.